Hello everyone, welcome back to the Global Championship powered by GT Omega. It is time for round number 3 of the season where Formula 1 began about 71 years and 350 odd days ago. It is Silverstone for the British Grand Prix. My name is Luke Etheridge. Joining me tonight is Joshua Davis. And Josh, I hope I speak for everyone by saying I hope it will be drier than last week.
Yeah, hopefully so. Welcome back everyone to GGC, obviously the home of Formula 1 racing. We are at Silverstone, of course, but yeah, absolutely chucked it down last week at Imola. Definitely was not ideal conditions to say the least, but hopefully we can get maybe a drier session. But who are we kidding? It is Silverstone and it is Great Britain, so we'll probably get a little bit similar to last week, if not worse. But hopefully we do have a little bit of a drier race this time around, definitely for the drivers' sake and for everyone else watching at home. Should be an absolutely fantastic race. We have an absolutely stacked grid as usual tonight with, interestingly, coming to the tier is Fabrizio Donoso, ex-Alpine F1 Esports driver and the runner-up in 2017, joins TF10 from the transfer window, so definitely looking out for that. So it should be an absolutely cracking race.
Yeah, it should be. You already said Fabrizio Donoso, probably out of the transfer window that we've had at TGC, definitely the biggest signing, I think, of all of the teams, and he will be making his debut tonight, so TF10 will be hoping that brings them some good fortune. They had pace at round number 1 of the season, didn't do too bad last time around, but haven't really got the results that perhaps their pace has deserved. If you weren't with us last week, it was a dominant victory by Lenny Papinta, continuing his good qualifying form from the Austrian Grand Prix and carrying it on into the race this time. But perfect, a Grand Slam, actually a pole win, fastest lap, leading every lap, a superb job from Mr. Papinta. In second place, it was Jack West. Parnell Racing actually scoring more points than any team last time around. And Race Clutch getting their second podium in 2 races with Luke Smith. So what that has done for the championship overall, despite not getting on the podium, it is actually VSR who have extended their lead in the championship at the moment. Race Clutch are in second, Parnell up there into third, Addictos fourth, TF10 in fifth, FVR and ET8 after promising round 1s of the season just slipping back slightly. R8G in 8th place on 7 points, and it's going to be tough for them to get up the ranking tonight because they do have a qualifying ban.
Yeah, I have that qualifying ban from selecting their grid a little bit after the deadline, so Huras Zildrum and Piotr Stachlek have a little bit of a job to do from 19th and 20th on the grid, so it's definitely going to be a very, very tough day for the Haas guys. But looking at their pace and what we've seen from Zildrum and from Stachlek, especially in the Challengers Series, we can definitely expect a lot from them, so no doubt they can probably see a podium, maybe even points, maybe even a podium on the horizon there, but we'll have to wait and see. Obviously, they've just had a few rough starts to a few races that has been very, very rough. Obviously, it was Austria, they had just that collision with Ulas Zildjian, and obviously Imola was not so great either, with Stachlek getting into a few issues alongside Ulas. I don't think they scored points. If they did, they didn't score very many, but yeah, it's going to be very, very tough for them tonight, so hopefully they can try and pull something out the bag. But yeah, they're just going to have to keep on going until the season. They've still got 7 rounds left to go, so they can still grab some more stuff going towards the rest of the season, but it's going to be very, very tough from here.
Yeah, it is indeed. If we go through the teams that are, the drivers that are racing for all the different teams tonight, it is going to be Stachlek and Zildjian again for R8G. As we've already mentioned, it was originally Sam McBride and Carter Lundy for Parnell, but Dylan Warren, he's going to be stepping in for Sam McBride, so both of those drivers making their second appearances. Milan Badescu and Yernes Dovzan for Shizou, they'll be hoping for their first points of the season. Jonas Martins and Ryan Jacobs for WOR, Joost Noordijk, Duncan Hoffland for VSR, Smith and Sipos for Race Clutch. We've also got Towler and Finch racing for ET8, Kodon Ngolo and Izal for FER, Papinta back again, Lenny Papinta with Jean-Christophe Letexier this time around, and it is going to be Fabrizio Donoso alongside Marcus Shaw. And there's probably unintentionally, I'm sure they're not going to do it consciously, there's going to be a bit of a target on Donoso's back tonight. A lot of people are going to want to beat him. Former runner-up in esports back in 2017. It's a great opportunity for these drivers to really test themselves against the best.
Yeah, absolutely. So a lot of these drivers will definitely be looking at themselves saying, I'm going to be racing against the Fabrizio Donoso. So they're definitely going to have to try well, they've definitely practiced probably a lot to just try and get better than Fabrizio here. So hopefully they can try and do well for their teams. Obviously, there's a lot of pride if you do beat him tonight. Obviously, he's going to try his best as he always does. Fabrizio is just one of those 1 in a million drivers. He's just absolutely fantastic wherever he goes. So hopefully he can bring the points for TF10 against today alongside Marcus Shaw, who we've seen been absolutely fantastic at Austria. Obviously, those penalties denied them after that 1-3 in Austria. So hopefully he can try and continue with Fabrizio's back, maybe try and close up with him. But yeah, Fabrizio definitely one to watch tonight, and I won't be surprised if he maybe gets pole in the win. Yeah,
Definitely wouldn't surprise me either. Let's just quickly shoot up a few facts then around this circuit. You can see them on the screen now. The Silverstone track, 1 minute 27.097, the lap record that it shows there. We're expected to see quicker than that tonight. 26 lap race, 18 turns, 5.891 kilometres. Very, very high-speed circuit. Used to be the fastest in Formula 1 back in the 80s. Keke Rosberg, and I believe it was the first ever 160-mile-per-hour qualifying lap here back in the mid-80s. So that just shows you how incredibly fast it is. Means it's not the easiest to overtake. It means qualifying is going to be important. There is those 2 DRS zones. Josh, down towards the Hangar Straight, down towards Stowe, and down towards Brooklands as well on the Wellington Straight. But because the braking zones aren't that heavy, it means it's not a straightforward pass, so quite often the battles do carry on for multiple corners, which is fantastic for us and fantastic for the viewers.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a lot of there's a few overtaking opportunities you can do, but obviously with the amount of braking you need for the corners, it definitely makes life a little bit difficult. May see a few maybe down the Hamilton Straight. Not the Hamilton Straight, down the Wellington Straight as well. There's a lot of overtaking opportunities. Obviously, Cops Corner, definitely one if you're brave enough. Obviously, we don't want a Max Verstappen Lewis Hamilton incident from last season in real life, but we never know. Hopefully, we'll try and keep it clean. If you do make moves in towards Cops Corner, then hopefully you do make it stick. But yeah, there's a lot of very, very high-speed corners, which will definitely follow on for many battles to come. And yeah, if we get to a point where the last lap goes to a final race for the win, then we never know. It could last for a very, very long time. So it'll definitely be interesting coming around lap 26.
Yeah, it could be. I've seen many times the races go right down to the wire here. We've seen that in real life. We've seen Lewis Hamilton win a race around here on 3 tyres. Michael Schumacher win a race in the pit lane. And pit strategies, maybe a very, very straightforward one around here. A soft medium, but it is one of the longest pit stop losses on the season, upwards of 25 seconds. It can be, quite difficult, especially if we do see drivers having to make a second pit stop for whatever reason, if they do get damage. A straightforward soft medium. I've seen drivers before on the alternate strategy around here sometimes try the Albon strat, as I think we're going to call it, go quite late on to try and maybe wait for a late safety car. So possibly drivers, if they feel like they've got nothing to lose, could even see them wait until lap 23, lap 24, lap 25 before taking the pit stop. It is a risk, but if you feel like you've not got the pace, might be a risk worth taking.
Yeah, absolutely. It is a very big risk. Obviously, on the alternate strategy, going that long on the medium compounded tyres, maybe even the hards, I probably would assume a lot of the people on the alternate strategy on the medium compound tyres, but we never know. We may see it from the likes of a few of the ET8 guys, maybe a few of the FVR guys as well, maybe trying for the medium compound of tyres, but we never know at this point. It's just what they know. Maybe they'll just stick to pitting around laps 16, 17, 18 just to go those 10, 9, 8 laps on the soft compound tyres. We may not even see the mediums being used at all in the alternate strategy. We may just see everyone on the sauce. We never know at this point, but I think probably most of them will try it for the alternate strategy. We may see a few guys electing for the mediums in Q2. I've seen a few of the Parnell drivers prepping up just before the race. They've done a few medium runs on Q2. They look pretty good as well. Carlo Lundy just snatching in towards the 25.9s as well for him. So he may be looking to try and go onto the medium compounded tyres, but we never know. But it's all up in the air, and I think we're about to go into qualifying, so it should be a very, very tasty affair.
Yeah, shouldn't be too long before we are getting qualifying underway. A reminder, it is a full qualifying here. The race is 50%, but it is the full qualifying. So this time around, because of the qualifying ban for R8G, there are only going to be 18 drivers, so only 3 losing out. Might leave an opportunity for some of those teams that have struggled a bit more, like Shazoo, only team yet to get any points, to possibly have their best qualifying format. We know that we said there's going to be teams aiming for the alternate strategy. We think that's what R8G went for last time before it rained. What would you do around here? Would you go all out, try to get that pole position, or do you think the alternate strategy is worth it around here, that you can get the overtakes done on those fresh tyres towards the end?
Well, obviously, knowing me, I'll probably go full out for a pole position, but I think probably if you are a smart driver, then you'll probably look to try and qualify on the medium compound tyres in Q2. Maybe just play it safe in Q2, we never know. But it's definitely going to be interesting. But knowing me, I go out for pole position straight away. But with the knowledge that these guys have and the wiseness that these guys have, they will definitely just be wise and just think about the race long term then in the qualifying, which lasts only for about 20 minutes at a time, 15, 10 minutes, wherever it be. But looking at the weather so far, it looks pretty promising. Obviously, a few cloudy skies around here in Northamptonshire, but looks okay for now. So I believe we may get a dry race after all.
Yeah, and I think that'll be a relief for everyone if we do get a dry race. Unsurprisingly, it is England, so there's never going to have a perfectly sunny day. There are always going to be the odd few clouds out there as we get ready to get this session started. You can see a few of the cars heading out there on the circuit already. Jona Martins trying to get out extremely early on that set of soft tyres. We don't know what the weather is going to be like for this entire qualifying session, so we could see some rain towards the end, which could definitely determine the strategy of what a lot of drivers are going for. And given by the fact we're not seeing anyone choose to go on a set of mediums yet, normally early on in qualifying you would see drivers go for a set of mediums. I wonder if there is going to be a bit of rain in this session, so drivers possibly thinking that they need to get the lap in early on.
Yeah, definitely so. So yeah, it's very interesting that a lot of the drivers have come out quite early. We usually don't see them out in the first 30 seconds of the session. We usually wait and see around 15:30 mark. So maybe there is a little bit of foreshadowing of rain to come, but we never know. Obviously, Jona Martins very eager to get out on track first alongside the Red Bulls of Shazoo. That might be Milan or either Yone in the Shazoo cars alongside Ryan Jacobs as well, just behind. So Ferrari, WR and Shazoo looking to try and get their bank lap times in very, very early, just to make sure that they do go through. No one on the intermediate compound tyres, so everyone out on the soft straight away just to get the laps times in. But should be very, very interesting first couple of runs, and it will be Jona Martins going out first.
Yeah, Jona Martins will be the first man then to test himself at the historic Silverstone circuit, making his way around club now in the Ferrari to start the lap. And Ferrari took their first win in F1 around here in 1951 with Jose Frullian Gonzalez, making his way into Abbey now. Much changed obviously this part of the track in time for the 2010 race, and now braking hard into Village there and the loop. Crucial to get a good run through here. You might even see drivers trying to throw one down the inside at the loop, heading through Aintree straight forward flat out through their DRS Open as you're still part way around the corner, and now making your way down the Wellington Straight towards Brooklands. This left-handed, we'll see plenty of side-by-side action there. You take an extremely late apex to get the fastest line through there. Luffield drivers tending to go for all these different lines through here in the race to try and fight side-by-side to try and get the best possible run. Cutting woodcut as much as you dare there, taking advantage of the tarmac runoff area. And now we head towards the infamous Cops Corner, scene of many controversial moments over the years, and some fairly recently as well. Maggots, Beckett's and Chappell, arguably the biggest challenge for a modern-day Formula 1 car and a modern-day Formula 1 driver. You can see there Jona just having to modulate the throttle and the brake to get the best possible run through there. Now DRS Open for the second time as he makes his way down the Hangar Straight, scene of that famous Mansell move on PK 35 years ago. Heading into Stowe 6 gear, 130 mile per hour, just over 200 kilometers an hour. He has invalidated, so he's going to dive himself straight back towards the pits. And you can sometimes get away with track limits at Stowe. You can sometimes get away with them at Cops as well. The drivers have been warned that if they take the mickey with the track limits, they will find themselves getting in a bit of trouble. And it is Jerne Dovzan who sets the fastest line with a 1:26.669, instantly beaten by Ryan Jacobs.
Yeah, pretty decent bankers so far for the likes of Ryan Jacobs and Jerne Dobson. 26.6 for Jerne. You'll definitely have to go again with Ryan Jacobs with a 26.394, as Carter Lundy just beats into a 26.326. Not bad at all. Obviously, the times are still a little bit so obviously the first time the cars are out on track. The track is still a little bit cold, and the tyres is not quite up to temperature yet, as another Parnell driver, Dylan Warren, puts it into the top three with a 26.492. One of the Mercedes drivers, the ET8 drivers, that's Jake Finch, just starting his first flying lap. One of the McLarens of Duncan Hoffman, the runner-up in the PlayStation Challenger Series, rounding the final corner now and across the line and goes pole position with a 26.242. A brilliant lap time there from the VSR drivers. Luke Smith for Race Clutch puts it into P3, 26.332 to his name, and Fabrizio Donoso, as usual, puts it into pole position, 26.212, immediately replaced by the man on top so far, Lenny Pepinta, with a 26.162, and the top two, Lenny Pepinta and Fabrizio Donoso, showing why they are one of the best on the platform so far.
Yeah, and we're seeing there on screen why you might want to get a lap in pretty soon. It has just started to rain here at Silverstone. We are seeing just light spits of rain at the moment. Doesn't look to be costing the drivers too much time, but confirms what we thought about everyone heading out on the soft tyres. You needed to get a lap in early. Codon Angolo shoots himself up to 11th place at this moment in time. It's not looking good, we've got to say, for possibly Sipos, Martins, Nordyke and Badescu. Those drivers either in the pits or just heading out onto their outlaps at the moment. Jake Finch making his way down the hangar straight. The rain not looking too severe at the moment. Definitely nothing compared to what we saw last time around. And oh, just a tiny bit wide there from Jake Finch. A bit of mid-corner oversteer invalidates his lap time. And who knows if the rain starts coming down any heavier, and it looks like it is starting to beat a bit heavier on the halo camera there. Who knows, that could well be it for qualifying for a lot of these drivers. Pinter fastest ended also in second, Hoffland third, Marcus Short in fourth. Both TF10 drivers putting in good performances. And it's those 6 drivers that have yet to set a time going to be feeling pretty nervous roundabout now.
Yeah, definitely so, with the rain coming down. Joost Noordijk invalidating his time, and he's actually spun off at turn 1, so it's getting a lot greasier into turn 1, and this may just make the likes of Azar and Milan Badesau just a little bit nervous. Obviously, the only two drivers will be getting knocked out of qualifying, with RHE having a qualifying ban, so Jona Martins may just be lucky by not setting a time. May see him through into qualifying. Azar still in the pit lane, and Milan on an outlap at the moment. We just want to look how he is, and it is raining a little bit, just spitting at the moment here in Northamptonshire, but still looks fairly dry, to say the least. But he'll definitely know in this game, it definitely hits very, very hard when it rains. Milan may have just timed this just about correctly if he wants to get a lap in. Azar still in the pit lane. I don't think we may see a time from him tonight, but we never know. It may just be spitting, and it may just turn out to be just spitting in the next 5 minutes' time, so we never know.
Yeah, sounds like Joost might be having a couple of wheel issues, and in fact he has retired from the session, and that is, that looks like he's out on track. That looks like it's heading out of Woodcut on the way in towards Cobbs.
That is a crash.
That is a very strange place to crash out. Yeah, we'll see if we can see what it looks like on board with Badescu, who's just making his way around Luffield now on towards Woodcut. Yeah, very strange place to have a crash. Obviously, if there is some wheel issues for Joost Noordijk, then that is understandable. And his car is over there towards the right-hand side, missing the front right wheel. So definitely not ideal for him. He's still in 15th at the moment. He's still on that cut-off point, but that might only make 2 drivers that could go out at the moment. And it's definitely worth keeping on for all these drivers. Who knows? Now could be the time to set yourself a lap and just get yourself through. There is no RHG in this session because they have a qualifying ban, so they will be starting 19th and 20th. Of course, with the lobby reset, they have not joined qualifying, not really any point. They will be back for the normal session, as Milan Badescu making his way around Stowe. A lot tidier than we've seen a couple of drivers do it earlier on towards Vale and Club. We've seen plenty of drivers go side by side here over the years to try and fight hard, and the Red Bull driver heads towards the finish line. And 126.989 doesn't look like the weather is affecting the track surface too much at the moment, though.
Yeah, definitely so, and it just seems to be spitting at the moment, so you probably would assume just a little bit of some passing rain, so not getting that heavy so far. So maybe a few of the drivers just maybe a little bit of a relief pouring into the back of them, as Jake Finch will go for one more as well. I believe who else needs to probably settle up? Jona Martins, Milan Badescu, they're probably going to have to go again. Obviously that 26.9, maybe taking it a little bit easier in the wet conditions, but Azar just coming out for his out lap now, just running the final couple of corners. He will get a lap in eventually, but it's starting to get a little bit greasy out there. And already in P7, Ryan Jacobs preparing the intermediate, so he definitely thinks it's not going to stay dry very, very long. So it's definitely going to be interesting from here. Patrick Sipos on a lap, or was on a lap, as he lets Fabrizio Donoso go in P2. So definitely getting a little bit dry, a little bit wetter out there. You can start to see a little bit of wet patches starting to come, mainly around Sector 2, mainly in towards Brooklands and Luffield, but it's still fairly dry through Sector 3 so far, as you can see Fabrizio Donos is on board. He's still taking fairly dry lines, so it should be okay for the time being.
Yeah, should be okay for now. We saw Jake Finch run quite wide out of cops, but looks to have got away with that one in terms of keeping the lap valid. We'll just see how he goes through the final couple of corners then. Into Vale and Club. Is this going to be in the 126s, or is it just still going to be a tiny bit off everyone else? No, gets into a 126.611, so definitely the track getting wetter seems to be counteracted by that natural track evolution as the cars are laying more and more rubber down at the moment. So definitely not over for all of these drivers. We know both R8G drivers will not get through. We know Joost Noordijk will not be getting through in 17th place, and even if he did, he would not be able to take any further part in this qualifying session. I think it is a bit early on for them intermediate tyres for Ryan Jacobs, but let's see what Fabrizio Donoso can do. Former Alpine F1 Esports driver, just about to start his second run.
Now as he makes his way through in towards Sector 1, coming around Aintree now, across the loop, heading on towards the back straight, the Wellington Straight. A few overtaking opportunities can be done here in the race. We saw a massive scrap for the lead on lap 1. Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen going toe-to-toe. 59,000 so far is the Chilean driver of Fabrizio Donoso at the moment in Sector 1, but how is his Sector 2 going to fare? Currently P2 in this qualifying session, just a couple of thousandths down on Lenny Pipenta for ADRT. Through in a little bit of a lift for Fabrizio, but he keeps it fairly pinned, and that was a beautiful cops corner to say the least. Now into Maggots and Beckett's. In towards Beckett's now, holding that curve as best you can, in towards Chapel on the right, hitting that curve very, very nicely. The car just wiggles ever so slightly, and a 10.5 down for Fabrizio Donoso. It is getting a little bit wetter out there, so I wouldn't be surprised if he comes in. Jake Finch retires in the session as Fabrizio Donoso all over the place there. There's a few glitches happening on my screen. In towards the final couple of sectors for Donoso as he makes his way through and towards the final corner at Vale. And it's Fabrizio Donoso does not improve, and just under a 2 tenths down on his lap time. So it's definitely, probably, that is going to be it for qualifying 1 here.
Yeah, I think the majority of the drivers staying in the pits with 6 minutes to go. Maybe just waiting and seeing, deciding not to retire just in case things do get that bit driver as Codon and Golo is 6.5 seconds down. 6.5 seconds down at the second sector point. So straight away that he is giving up on this lap. His teammate is still trying to go around on his first appearance, but not setting any improvements at the moment. The track might just be starting to reach that. Don't think we're reaching the crossover point yet, but I think we are definitely reaching a point where the weather is severe enough to make these drivers realise that it's not going to be slick tyres for too much longer. And even if it is slicks, you're not going to be able to find too much time. Martins and Badescu heading out there at the moment. They're, of course, down in 15th and 16th, so probably the ones with the most to fight for in the final 5 minutes.
Yeah, definitely. So Azar as well has a little bit to fight for. He's only 1,000ths down on Milan at the moment, currently in P17, and last on the field, only 47 thousandths up, down, in Sector 1, so he's going to have to find a little bit of the cops corner, racing one-handed as well, so that is just absolutely fantastic there. You can be that quick and drive one-handed, which is absolutely incredible to see. Through in towards Maggots and Beckett's now comes the FBR driver. Luke Smith retires in the pit lane. He's happy with his time. He probably won't be able to improve, and it validates as well. Hopefully he has a little bit more time to try and find something, but with the conditions getting worse, it may not be enough. Meanwhile, Martins in P15 coming towards Maggots and Beckett's now over 10.5 down in his Sector 1 time, so it's definitely getting much wetter out there. How is Milan faring out? He's actually spun at Cops, so that will not be enough for Milan to get out of qualifying here. You think he will be getting out of qualifying. We stay on boards with Jonas Martins, makes his way through Sector 3 a little bit too wide. And then is on an outlap, and I think that will probably bring an end to qualifying 1.
Yeah, looks like it will. Lenny Pipenta, though, carrying on his form from last week, fastest of everyone at the moment. Unsurprisingly, Fabrizio Donoso is right up there. Duncan Hoffland in third. I'm impressed with that lap from Duncan. Qualifying, probably if he has got a weakness, you'd arguably say that qualifying is that. Maybe not quite having the pace over one lap. It is only first qualifying. Let's not forget these times have absolutely no bearing on what happens for the rest of the session. But third place, he'll be fairly happy with that. His teammate out of the session, as is Izar, as is Milan Badescu. And I think now everyone has realised the rain just coming down too much here at Silverstone for anyone to do anything about. Although, saying that, I'm not sure if we've just seen someone heading out of the pit lane or whether that was wishful thinking from myself. Yes, we've got Carter Lundy deciding to give the fans a bit of an entertainment. The Canadian going out there on a set of softs. This could look foolish if you end up spinning and crashing the car, because let's not forget, you retire from this session, you're done for Q2 and Q3 as well.
Yeah, let's hope Carter doesn't do anything stupid on his outlap or specifically his in-lap. It still looks quite, but obviously with the rain coming down, it's getting wetter. But from my point of view, it looks quite dry on the track, which is fairly interesting to say the least. But everyone now retiring on track. Dylan Warren, so the two Parnell drivers coming out to set some lap times here, so they think still fairly okay in the soft compound tyres. Probably not a lot of a point going out on the dry compound tyres, and they're the only drivers now to be in the qualifying session. Everyone else retiring in the pits. That's Azar and Joost Noordijk out of Q1 alongside Vilas Zildjian and Piotr Stachelek on the sidelines. But yeah, this is fairly a big risk from Parnell, and hopefully they don't bin it, otherwise they are seeing themselves out of qualifying as well. We'll only have 13 in Q2, so let's hope nothing substantially bad happens to them on their laps.
Yeah, could be a decent bit of practice though. Again, this is Silverstone. You never know if you're going to get these conditions in the race where it is greasy out there and quite wet, and it's not something that you can really test for too much. Obviously, if you're going time trial, you've got dry or wet, no in between. And in Grand Prix mode, it's usually you don't see conditions like this for too long. I am surprised at how long the slick tyres have stayed usable before. Saying that, I've done a race before where the entire race was raining and the entire race was done on a set of slick tyres with DRS being active. So let's follow Carter Lundy then on his run down towards Abbey then. Just a slight lift to about 60% throttle. You can see being very delicate with the steering wheel. No stunning movements needed at the moment. Otherwise, you will find the car spinning around, and again, just having to fight the wheel slightly as he comes through Village and the loop. Also on the exit of the loop as well, DRS is still active. That's always a good sign that the track conditions are still relatively dry. We'll see what his first sector time is at the moment. 0.6 of a second down. I think tells you all you needed to know about why everyone else decided to retire.
Yeah, definitely. So it's a little bit too wet now to just continue on the soft compound tyres, but this is probably where you need a little bit like Turkey in 2020, where the slim intermediates are probably the best to go here. It's not quite wet enough for the intermediates, but it's not quite dry enough for the soft compound. It's substantially down in his time. Definitely shows that at the moment. But yeah, probably just getting a little bit of practice in just to see if these conditions are similar in the race, just to see how greasy it is on track. It seems to be okay traction-wise, so they don't seem to be taking it too easy on throttle, so it seems to be okay traction-wise. But as Dylan Warren just comes through Sector 2 to second and a half down on his personal best, as Carter Lundy comes into pit lane now to end qualifying alongside Dylan Warren in P9, and they are safely through. And both ET8 drivers now got through in Fowler P8 and Jake Finch P9. That's a great, very encouraging for ET8 there.
Yeah, definitely. And with both Parnell cars retiring, that does bring a slightly premature end to the first qualifying session. Joost Noordijk, the biggest name, failing to make it through in that one, of course, with the issues he had with his wheel. We'll go through the other drivers to get eliminated as well. You can see Milan Badescu missing out by just over a tenth of a second. And these are also out as well. All 17 drivers at set time separated by just over 0.8 of a second. And up towards the top of the order, Lenny Papinta fastest once more. Fabrizio Dodoso in second place. Duncan Hoffland in third in that session. Going to be an intriguing one to see what the weather's like at the start of Q2. Whether we've still got this sort of interslick type weather.
Yeah, definitely. So I probably would assume that we probably will have similar positions in Q2 with how it plays out. Obviously, the dries and, well, obviously being at the similar day in qualifying, we'll probably see how it goes. We'll have a look into Q2 now. We'll just get loaded up. You never know. It might get heavier. And looking at the screen, it may just have got a little bit heavy. Is playing on the tyre strategy. Everyone on the soft compound tyres too, but we would be surprised if we do see a few people electing for the wet compound tyres. But immediately, almost all the grid coming out on the dry compound tyres already, and a lot of action in the pit lane with almost all 15 drivers out on the soft compound tyres for Fabrizio Donoso, leading them away alongside a few of the Williams cars for the ADRT, and pretty much everyone out on track now. That's the Texier for the Williams cars. We just make sure everyone comes out through the Texier. Lenny Pepinto, Yona Martins, Dylan Warren, Patrick Sipos, Carla Lundy, Marcus Dowler, Luke Smith, and Fabrizio Donoso, Corden N'Golo, Ryan Jacobs. Everyone is out here in Q2 to get that soft run going, to make sure they do not get out of qualifying. And I tell you what, Jean-Christophe Letexier may have just played this absolutely beautifully by getting out extremely quickly. He's already got a pretty decent gap and could be seeing himself top of the leaderboards, but this track already is getting very, very much wetter by the second.
Yeah, we say sometimes in qualifying you want to be the last car out on track. This is quite the opposite. You clearly want to be at the front to get the better track conditions, but then again, you can't really react to what any drivers are doing in front of you. Sometimes if you're leading a train in the wet conditions, it is a bit of a gamble. You can see there he's not using any ERS at the moment. That's what the red flashing light was for. It was not a rain light, and DRS is still activated despite the rain being quite a lot wetter than it was earlier and quite a lot heavier. There is still DRS for all these drivers, so this could get very interesting indeed. I think especially coming through Aintree, if you're just a bit vigorous through there, could end up looping the car round. But we'll see what Letexier can do on this, what is going to be a very intriguing one indeed. The Shizu car towards the back of the field there. That will be Jurnej Dovzan, the only Red Bull driver to get through. Probably not in the nicest of places now in that Red Bull straight away. Letexier almost losing it through club there. I think just signifying how tricky this lap is going to be. And again, having a bit of a moment coming through Albion Farm. This is going to be where the drivers are really earning their money.
Yeah, definitely so. Already, Letexia very much struggling out of the final corner at Club. So, very tricky conditions. And once again, almost losing the car at Aintree. It's very, very difficult conditions right now for Letexier as he makes his way down the back straight on the Wellington straight in towards Brooklyn's 29.467 sector 1 time, which puts purple momentarily. Lenny Papinta in P14. He's gone purple and even quicker than his teammates so far. And once again, just taking it very, very easily through Luffield there and outside of Woodcote. How will they take Club is another question. Letexier almost fully out of the throttle, a little bit of throttle being played, but almost none at all. So they're taking it very, very cautiously around here at Silverstone. How is Maggots and Beckett very, very taken quite cautiously. Do not want to loop the car, otherwise that will probably be an end to qualifying. Down the back straight now, still DRS being enabled, so if it gets disabled now, then it's probably not looking good for the likes of Parr. Are now about maybe 6th, 7th, 8th in line at the moment. As Johan Christophe Letexier comes around the final couple of corners now through into sector 3. How is that going to fare in Q2 and a very damp track on dry compound tyres? Round in the final corner comes the Frenchman wrestling the car all the way through the final corner. 33.466. Will this be enough? Yone Papinto goes a 32.727. Fabrizio Donoso 32.353. Luke Smith on a 32.715. Carl Lundy on a 32.693. But Fabrizio Donoso 3 and a bit tenths quicker than the rest of the field. That is quite something from him.
Yeah, Sippers and Ryan Jacobs driving their way towards the pit lane there, as I think bit of a strange one though, whether they invalidated on their laps, so they're going to try and head out on a set of the intermediate tyres. Dovzan gets himself up into 12th place at the moment. If the track gets any wetter, that might be how this Q2 ends, and we had a slightly shortened Q1. I wouldn't be surprised at the moment if we end up with as much severely shortened Q2. Donoso, Lundy, Smith, Papinta, Hoffland, your top 5 at the moment. Finch, Short, Towler, Codon N'Golo and Martins would be joining them in the top 10. Warren, Dovzan, Letexier, Sipos and Ryan Jacobs would be the drivers, failing to get their way through into the final part of qualifying. Dovzan then heading towards Brooklands End. 22 thousandths up though at the moment. Again, suggesting the track's not getting worse, and who knows, we might even see things get slightly better throughout this session. It's going to be an intriguing one to keep an eye on. We'll go further up and see if anyone else is finding any improvement. Lenny Papinta is down at the moment. No improvement found from him. Duncan Hoffland has backed off of his lap completely. I think a lot of these drivers at the moment are just backing off, heading towards the pits, not really going for those 2 consecutive laps. Interesting from Sipos and Ryan Jacobs. Looks like they're going to try, possibly, the intermediate tyres. I'm not sure, though, on the intermediates, you'll be able to beat a 132.3.
Yeah, it's going to be very, very difficult to know, so, but maybe that's probably not their plan. Just trying to beat Dylan Warren to that 32.956. which may be possible. We never know. See how good the intermediates are compared to the slick tyres on a dry track, as Patrick Sipos already out now for his intermediate time alongside Ryan Jacobs. So they decided to bail on their dry time first of all. So they decided they didn't think the dries were quick enough and thinking that the wets are probably going to be enough. So very, very interesting to see as Ryan Jacobs making a massive slide out of the exit of the loop there. So hopefully he doesn't spin it on his lap. We're right on board with Patrick Sipos. How is his tyres compared to the rest of the field? They seem okay. There's obviously a little bit of wheel spin here and there, but they look okay so far. But let's see if they can go any quicker. Right now, I'm not sure if they could, because Letexia is also prepping the intermediate tyres to try and go quicker than his 33.466. I doubt he can. A lot of drivers electing for the intermediate tyres, so maybe it may be a little bit quicker, but you never know. This could be a little bit of an interesting...
Yeah, it's going to go one way once Sipos comes through the first sector. Either everyone is going to head out there on tracks on the intermediates, or everyone is going to retire from the session, having realised that they're not going to be able to beat the time what they've done on a set of soft tyres. So all eyes are on Patrick Sipos, the Hungarian, the esports driver as well for Alpine last season. Took part in a few races, and let's see what he can do. Very steady through Vale and Club, obviously trying to limit the wheel spin as much as possible, fighting the wheel through there. Let's go on board then with the Alpine coming towards Sector 1 through Abbey. How's things looking for him? Again, quite a severe lift compared to what we were seeing earlier on, but still not feeling the need to touch the brakes at the moment. Light on the brakes towards the towards Village there. Now heading into the loop, being very careful indeed. So easy to snatch a front brake in these conditions and send yourself off very deep indeed. Need to be really careful, really have a good feel on what the car is going to be like in all these conditions. Sipos now, obviously we didn't see what his sector time was earlier as he didn't set one, but a 29.5 for Sipos. And we have got some others heading out there on outlap. So clearly a lot of these drivers, as Ryan Jacobs is just a bit off the Alpine, clearly a lot of drivers feeling like they might be able to gain something on these intermediates.
Yeah, absolutely. So looking, comparing Donoso to Sipos' time, he's only 5/10 down to Sipos on Donoso's personal best in Sector 1. So the intermediates probably not up to scratch just yet. They're definitely getting there. Let's see how Sipos' Sector 2 is as he makes his way through out of Maggots and Beckett's and into towards Chapel. DRS still activated so far, so you haven't turned that off. 9.032 for the Hungarian drivers. He makes his way through sector intermediate compounded tyres. Only Carter Lundy, Luke Smith, Jake Finch, Dylan Warren, Yoni Dovzan, Letexier, Sipos and Jacobs all on the intermediate compounded tyres now, but it's starting to get a little bit busier in the pit lane as everyone thinking the intermediates might be a little bit quicker, but invalidation for Sipos, and across the line it was a 35.415. And I don't think the intermediates are probably going to be a little bit quicker than the dries here.
No, what could be a good test is Jean-Christophe Letaxier. As DRS is disabled, that says it all. With no DRS, you're not going to be able to improve when Letaxier is nearly a full second off coming through Sector 1. So that looks like it is qualifying over then for Q2. And it looks like, barring an absolutely superb lap time, we're going to see Warren, Dovzan, Letaxier, Sipos and Jacobs, who has retired from the session, exiting this one. ETA managing to get both their drivers into the top 10, as have TF10. And I think they're the only two teams to have done so.
Yeah, definitely so. Parnell with Parnell 11th and 2nd, with Dylan Warren just missing out there by under 200ths of a second there. 6:02 to 5:81 compared to Donoso, but it is, yeah, TF10 and ETA getting both of their drivers into qualifying. ETA having a great qualifying session so far this race, with Marcus Fowler in P8, Jake Finks in P6, with Fabrizio Donoso in P1 and Marcus Short in P7. But Fabrizio Donoso, what a lap that was on the dry compound tyres. 3/10 quicker than Carter Lundy in P2 and getting the job done when he needed to. And it's Fabrizio Donoso who's in P1 so far, with Carter Lundy in P2, Luke Smith in P3, 5, Jake Finks P6, with Marcus Short P7, Marcus Fowler in P8, with Gordon N'Golo in P9 and Yona Martins in P10, and no one else could improve on the intermediate compound tyres.
Yeah, no one else able to improve. You can see Carter Lundy, I think he's just going to make his way into the pit lane then, and we all have seen those retirements from the session. Donoso doing exactly what we expected Donoso to do then. Over 3/10 of a second faster, an absolutely stonking lap time on that set of soft tyres. As Josh mentioned, he's still headed around 8/10 off in Sector 1, partly down to no DRS, mainly down to the fact that the green car is now needing the green set of tyres, intermediates for everyone. I think it could be this way in Q3, and that might be another thing to watch out for. Could the rain even come hard enough down in Q3 for us to possibly see the wet tyres? Saying that though, I'd argue that the rain doesn't look as heavy as it did at the start of the session.
No, it definitely didn't. If anything, it's sort of easing off, maybe just getting to a similar level. So we may see a dryish patch starting to form around here at Silverstone. It may be a very, very late call if one of the drivers maybe elect for the soft compound tyres, they make back or two. So we never know in this session as Dylan Warren comes out of the session just to do a little bit of practice runs for the race, just to see how he's going. Obviously P11, so the back marker's pole position, but with the intermediates being played in use. Obviously the top 10, I believe, setting their fastest times on the soft compound tyres, so he may be safe in that retrospect, so it may not be all bad for a few of the drivers. Here's Fabrizio Donoso 3 seconds down on his time so far than he did on the dry, so the intermediate's definitely not quicker. That is a confirmation there, but it may not be all curtains over for Dylan Warren, Yanni Dobson, Texier, Sipos and Ryan Jacobs, alongside a few others that got knocked out in Q1, so this may not be all over, and the ultimate strategy still may be on to play for a lot of these drivers here.
Yeah, you can see confirmation there now as we change from the current tyres to the tyres that the drivers set their best laps on. They all did it on a set of soft tyres. Everyone who set a lap was on a set of the softs. So they'll have to start the race on the softs, more of a top 10. Unless, of course, we do get some rain in the race as well. And then the alternate strategy would not be anywhere near as powerful. We've still got a few drivers trying to head out there on circuit, trying to see, maybe just get a bit of practice, possibly for later on. Maybe getting some practice from other leagues as well. It is Silverstone, after all. It's almost certain, if you're a league racer, that you are going to do one wet race around here. ET8, we've mentioned already, getting both of their drivers through. Kodon and Golo, looks like he's having a better session as well for FVR in 9th at the moment. Incredibly close though for the exit of that session. You can see there, Marcus Short, he's up in 7th place. He's just over a 10 faster than Dylan Warren, who's been eliminated.
Yeah, definitely. So actually fantastic to see this so close between 8th, 9th and 10th. Marcus Dowler only getting through there by only less than a 10th of a second there. That's just incredible to see with Luke Smith. Obviously you've got battles up the top with obviously Fabrizio Donoso running away with the show by 3 sets, but Carter Lundy, Luke Smith, Lenny Pepinter, Duncan Hoffland, all very tight knit together in those in the 32.7s there. Obviously Carter Lundy leading the way on a 32.6, but they're very tight knit battles there. So maybe Fabrizio Donoso may run away with this. Maybe the top 4 can try, top 5 can maybe try and stick with him as well, but we never know. But Carter Lundy, Luke Smith, Lenny Pepinter and Duncan Hoffman, maybe a very interesting battle going into Q3 and especially going into towards the race.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen 4 out of those top 5 be up towards the front in qualifying all the races so far this season. The only one we haven't is Fabrizio Donoso, and that's because it's his debut race, so unsurprisingly that he's not really been right there towards the top. If anything, the rain looks as though it might have just got a tiny bit heavier once more, but it is Donoso the fastest in the session. Lundy 2nd, Smith in 3rd, Pinter 4th, Duncan Hoffland in 5th, and good news for fans of VSR, it looks like Joost Noordijk has managed to get his wheel issues sorted out, so he will be starting from down in 18th. Has still got a possibility, has the F1 Challengers champion on the PlayStation platform, to get a good result in, as Carter Lundy just doing a bit of 4-wheel drifting there, coming for Aintree, entertaining everyone, still charging around on these intermediates. For lap times not getting worse, suggesting that the weather isn't really getting too much worse at the moment.
Yeah, definitely. So the conditions are still not very good around here so far. 20 seconds left in Q2. Not a lot of point going for any more runs, as we should see a few people coming to retire in the pit lane. So that should be it for Q2, and it's the top 10 going through in towards Q3. But a brilliant showing there from Fabrizio Donoso to do a 32.3 in wet on the soft compounder tyres to get pole position, well, to top the timing sheets by 3/10 of a second. That's fantastic to see everyone now retiring in the pit lane. Dylan Warren will not make it par 4 now Q3, and he breaks the streak going there. Just unfortunate conditions, but just manage to get knocked out there. 21 thousandths separating Jonas Martins and Dylan Warren there. The biggest gap we've seen, and the knockouts there. So that's absolutely fantastic to see that 21 thousandths is the closest we've ever seen a Q2 knockout, which is just absolutely fantastic. But it is Fabrizio Donoso leading the way with Carlo Lundy in P2, Luke Smith in P3, Lenny Pepinto P4, Duncan Hoffman P5, with Jake Finch in P6, Marcus Short in P7, Marcus Thau in P8, Gordon Ngolo in 9th, and Jonas Martins in P10 going through to Q3.
Yeah, those be the drivers that are heading through to Q3. Still Donoso just heading out there, getting a few laps on the intermediate tyres, getting a feel for what the car is like and getting a bit sideways coming through Chapel as well. Well held to keep it facing in the right direction. Unfortunately, that is not the quickest way to go around there, no matter how stylish it looked from the former esports driver. Losing 5 seconds, pretty much, I imagine most of that, in that sector alone. So he's now, looks like he might have run out of fuel, so he's just heading his way back towards the pits, and it is going to be Warren, Dovzan, Lataxier, Sipos, and Ryan Jacobs heading out of this session. There's plenty of fast names struggling at the moment. We saw Sipos obviously get second place at round 1 of the season. We saw Jost Nordijk getting a good result last time out. They're going to be towards the back, as are both our 8G drivers. Watching the alternate strategy, it's going to be interesting to see what they can do from a bit further down the grid.
Yeah, absolutely. So obviously the alternate strategy is definitely crucial for the likes of RHG, for the likes of Jost Nordijk as well. He's definitely out of position from wheel issues as well, as he's now coming into the back of the session. But yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting how this one plays out in the race, and definitely strategy is going to be a massive thing around the race as we head on over into Q3. Probably looking around the similar conditions, maybe may get a little bit brighter as the session goes along, but still very, very wet. And it is the top 10 all setting their times on the soft compounded tyres, so the alternate strategy will exist in the top 10 all having to start on soft compound tyres heading in towards the race, and the wet conditions did not save them in that part of the race, and the intermediates were definitely not quicker than the dries, as Patrick Sipos found out.
Yeah, Patrick Sipos and Ryan Jacobs, of course, having to trying to set their time on a lap on the intermediates, both failing to set a time. They'll be joined from 11th to 15th by Dylan Warren, Jonas Dovzan, and Jean-Christophe Lataxier. And you can see Fabrizio Donoso fastest in that session. Carl Lundy in second, Luke Smith in third. Then it was Pepinto, Hoffland, Finch, Finch, and we did just saw the rest of the order going off the screen there. So top 10 now, top 10 shootout. Still that question mark over what the weather conditions are going to be like. This should be fantastic. It should be very interesting as well. If it's going to get wetter, it could be whoever sets for time first is going to be on pole position. If it's going to get drier, it's going to be whoever sets for time last. If it's somewhere in between, they'll likely do 3 or 4 runs on the same set of intermediate tyres.
Yeah, absolutely so. And looking just in the Q3 session, if anything, it's got a little bit worse. Everyone will be on the intermediate compounded tyres, so we will not see a dry track, so we should be seeing maybe 3 or 4 laps on the similar tyre from a lot of these guys on the intermediate compounded tyres. Obviously, you want to do multiple runs on the same compounded tyres in the wets, just as the grip starts to get a little bit better for these guys. But yeah, it's definitely going to be very, very interesting how this play out, and already a lot of people straight out in qualifying, not messing around with anything, and straight out there for their laps. And it is Gordon Ngolo who will lead them away in Q3. Spaniard driver making his way through into the VFR team, once again here to return at Britain. So hopefully can try and get a few things ready to go. Obviously making his first appearance in Q3, just didn't have an amazing race in last time out in Imola, but hopefully he can try and wash those blues away and get in towards the top 5, maybe even top 6 as well this time around in Silverstone. Wet conditions, so it's definitely going to make it a challenge, but we never know who has the pace in the wet, as this is the first qualifying session we've had in the wet. Yeah,
could certainly mix things up. These drivers are getting quite used to wet conditions. Seems to be affecting a lot of leagues now on the F1 game, where we do see a lot of rain at various different circuits. Hell, PSGL even had some rain around Saudi Arabia once. Who would have expected that on the game? But it is Codon Ngolo leading that train of 4 cars that are all fairly close together. Martins, Hoffland, and we've got one of the Mercedes drivers there as well. That will be Jake Finch. His teammate Marcus Towler deciding to stay in the pit lane, maybe only going for that 1-1 in the middle of the session. This is definitely a tactic that some of the drivers do. Yellow flags as everyone just slows down to try and build themselves the best place possible for this qualifying. And it is going to be the FER driver who leads everyone out on their first runs. We can't really predict what the pole time is going to be. Possibly, from what we saw in that session, anywhere around 134, 135, depending on what the track conditions are like.
Yeah, you're probably looking maybe 134s, maybe even 133s as Fabrizio Donoso got there on, of course, the soft compound tyre. So we may see maybe a high 33s, low 34s might be enough for pole position. Obviously, we were thinking that maybe a dry qualifying session here in this race. So we're looking maybe around low to mid 25s for pole position. But now we're looking into about 10 seconds slower with that time of a 33s, maybe even 34s. We never know. Gordon N'Golo will set that pace so far as he makes his way through in towards Cops Corner for the Alfa Romeo team. Just 1 bar of throttle there, so almost fully off throttle in towards Cops Corner. Usually you can take that a little bit flat, maybe even 75% throttle as he makes his way through Maggots and Beckett's and in towards Chapel, hitting that curb ever so slightly, which forces him out ever so slightly on towards the grass. Should be all okay. 9.477 in towards sector 2. Jonas Martins does not go purple as Duncan Hoffland does as well. Jake Finch just behind in P5 does not go purple as we run on board now. Gordon N'Golo rounding the final couple of corners in towards Vale now and out of club in towards the final corner. What is the banker time going to be for Gordon N'Golo? We may not see the 33s even in the 34s. It's going to be a 35.933 for Gordon N'Golo.
Yeah, Gordon N'Golo then on a 35.933. What's Duncan Hoffland going to do? 34.808, much faster than from the VSR man. Let's check out on Fabrizio Donoso. He's just making his way around the final couple of corners. Now he takes provisional pole position on a 134.500. Again, about 3 tenths faster than everyone else. For Chilean, really seems to be enjoying these mixed conditions at the moment. Pinter, he's just coming through the final couple of corners. Second in qualifying for Austria. Pole position and a victory last time around. Not had the best of first runs though. Only 8th place for him. He will be going out again. This is a common feature that we see for drivers. Not normally in Q3 in a session, but sometimes in a short qualifying or in the earlier ones. They can do multiple laps on the intermediate tyres. Put a bit of fuel in and just get a feeling for what the track conditions are going to be like. No 2 wet tracks are ever going to really feel the same. It's looking ominous again though with those times that Donoso is setting. Once more, 3 tenths clear of the pack.
Yeah, absolutely so, and definitely as you were speaking about multiple runs, Gordon N'Golo has decided to go for one more and he's just over 2.5 tenths up on his personal best on a 31.933, which should see him still in P7, but on that 35.7. However, he needs about 8 tenths to try and battle with Jake Finch right now as he has a look to go into the pits but decides not to as he hops on a skip towards Vale and that of the final corner at club and across the line for Gordon N'Golo. Does he improve on his time? He does by almost 6 tenths of a second, and VSR Duncan Hoffland could be doing the same things. He rounds the final corner. Can he challenge Fabrizio Donoso to pole position? A massive slide, and he has lost a little bit of time. Jonas Martins across the line only goes P8. Fabrizio Donoso, is that Marcus Short? Maybe it is Fabrizio Donoso across the line. Can he improve? No, he can't. Just taking it ever so slightly cautiously this time around, but the times are still there. Maybe a few people just deciding to back out ever so slightly, and obviously people making a lot more runs. You're usually likely to see that happen as Lenny Papinta running the final corner 3 seconds up at the moment, turns into 5 tenths. He makes his way on towards the second row and goes P3. Luke Smith just fractionally up on his time in towards P4 as Marcus Dowler makes his way through the final couple of corners to try and go for his first run in qualifying session. Rounding the final corner for ET8 for the Mercedes car and across the line and goes P6 for ET8. That is not a bad lap time at all from the Danish driver.
No, Marcus Dowler with a very good lap there, putting him in 6th place at the moment. Him and his teammates sandwiching Marcus Short, but it's Marcus Short's teammate, Fabrizio Donoso, that is leading the way in the Aston Martin for TF10 after the drivers have completed their second lap on that same set of tyres. We'll see if anyone else looks like they're going for a third one, and they are indeed. Duncan Hoffland is pushing hard at the moment. He's 36 thousandths up as he makes his way down the hill towards Stowe. Interestingly, Cartalundi heading into the pits, so he's clearly trying something different here.
Yeah, definitely so. Maybe looking to try and go for a set of the fresher intermediate compound tires. We'll just have a look how Duncan Hoffman is going to go as he rounds the final corner. He was a little bit up in sector 1, lost a lot of time in sector 2, and he loses a little bit in sector 3, but Jonah Martin's there shooting up in towards P3, only 2,000 slower than Duncan Hoffman as he hits in towards the front row, and round in the final corner comes Marcus Dowell, I believe again, goes up into P6 and dethrones Carl Lundy of P6 and gets up to a 34.9 to 1 with Jake Finch up there as well. Brilliant to see. Luke Smith running the final couple of corners, 4 tenths up. This is looking a pretty good lap time for Luke Smith, and what a lap time it is, and it puts it on pole position. 34.371 dethrones Fabrizio Donoso, and it's Luke Smith on pole position so far after the first 3 runs, and with 4 minutes to go. It's going to be a shootout, you would think, between Luke Smith and Fabrizio Donoso for pole position.
Yeah, those drivers looking the fastest at the moment. Donoso's in the pit. Smith's going to want to get a bit of a move on, though. At the moment, it's going to be about 2 minute 30 when he makes his way into the pit lane. Should still have enough time to get out and set an extra run, but he's going to have to be pretty nippy on this in-lap, and he is on pole position at the moment. Donoso in second, Hoffman in third. Martins pushing himself up into 4th place. So I think we can safely say track conditions are not deteriorating at the moment. It's really the bravery of the drivers that is determining things at the moment. And you can see Smith to Codon and Golo within a second at the moment. Incredibly close on that second row of the grid. Hoffland only 0.02 of a second faster than Jonah Martins. And the first driver we're going to see on their second fresh set of tyres is going to be Cartalundi. He only did 1 lap earlier on. Quite happy with that one in 7th. The sole Parnell driver to make his way through. Let's see what the Canadian can do with the final 3 minutes of this session. Looks like he might be the only one, possibly alongside Codon N'Golo as well. Might be the only drivers to possibly get 2 laps in if they feel the need to.
Absolutely. So Fabrizio Donoso just coming out of the pit lane as well as just coming out of Aintree as we speak. So he may be just on the cusp to be getting 2 laps in with Marcus Shaw, his teammate, coming out as well alongside Lenny Papinta. So they may just scrape it, but we may just see them with that 1 run and maybe just lose a little bit out of their second one. So we never know. But Carl Lundy about to start his final lap on the fresher tyres. Everyone pretty much on fresher tyres now. Luke Smith comes into the pit lane, so I don't think we'll see another lap from him. Don't think he may have enough time. Maybe for 1 more if he comes out absolutely now. As VSR Duncan Hoffland, a little bit of action in McLaren. He'll be coming out soon. But Carl Lundy about to start his first flying lap on the fresh intermediates.
Yeah, making his way into Village now towards the loop. Also on this fresh set of intermediate tyres. So we'll get a bit of an idea in a few seconds' time. The car wanting to escape as it rotates around that rear axle on the exit of the loop. Now, of course, no DRS. Got deactivated in the last session. And we'll see what the first sector time is from Cartalundi. Only 93 thousandths up at the moment. But he's less than that behind Jake Finch. So, by similar improvements throughout the rest of the lap, we could see Cartalundi possibly get himself onto the second row of the grid at the moment, above Duncan Hoffland and Jonah Martins. And in Parnell, they'll be hoping that they can get themselves back into this championship hunt, scored more points than any other team, with 28 last time around, courtesy of his second place for Jack West and a top 5 finish for Dylan Wobben. What can Cartalundi do for him here? He's still probably feeling a bit aggrieved over what happened to him in Austria 2 weeks ago, getting spun around and ended up retiring from the race. Did Carter? His sector 2 time. He's now 3 tenths up, so really starting to find more. There are still improvements out there on the fresh set of tyres. And Cartalundi somehow just gained enough time through Stowe, through Vale, through Club to get himself onto the front row of the grid.
Yeah, absolutely. So he's done pretty well through Sector 1 and Sector 2. How is Sector 3 going to plan out for the Canadian driver as he rounds the final couple of corners, rounding the final corner at Club and across the line for Cartalundi? Can he put it on pole position? He can put it on the front row and beats Fabrizio Donoso by 1/1000th of a second. And that is really, really good there from Cartalundi. Got quite a little bit closer than Luke Smith as he is on an outlap right now. Should make the lap in time. Codon N'Golo right on the final corner now for the Alfa Romeo team, and across the line goes P6. A brilliant lap time there from the FDR driver. Duncan Hoffland about to cross the line on his final flying lap. Jonah Martins is about to do the same. Fabrizio Donoso making his way through sector 3 now, 4 tenths up. This is looking likely to be a 34.1 for Fabrizio Donoso. He rounds the final corner. Round of the final corner comes the Chilean driver across the line. Pole position for Fabrizio Donoso. A 33.807 sees the Chilean driver on pole position here in Silverstone. He's mastered the wet conditions. It's Donoso on pole position as it stands. A brilliant lap time there, 33.807, and Fabrizio Donoso on pole position here in Silverstone. Lenny Pepinsa cannot beat him. It's Donoso on pole position here in Silverstone.
Donoso on pole position. Can Marcus Short possibly think about making it a 1-2 for the TF10 team at the moment? He doesn't look likely. He's in last place. Could possibly get himself into the top 5 with this lap, depending on the final sectors. What's it going to be for Marcus Short? Gets himself up to 4th place. Finch and Smith didn't cross the line in time, so they didn't have any opportunity to improve. Marcus Towler coming through the final corners now. What can he do? Only goes up ahead of his teammate. We've got Carter Lundy going for a second run on the same set of tyres. Does improve time-wise. Does not improve position-wise. Stays in 5th for now. Koda Mingolo. He's another one that's finding a better time, so this could be good enough to get him onto the 3rd row of the grid. There's quite a big gap between Lundy and Hoffland at the moment. 4th, 5th and 6th as Koda Mingolo makes his way around the final corner. Does slot himself into that gap. He is in 6th place for now. Martens has retired. Coming through that final part of the circuit. Duncan Hoffland shoots himself up towards 3rd place. That is going to be it then for this qualifying session. Donoso, he's the only man who could still set a lap time. He's looking like he's trying to improve, but I think he's just backed off towards the end there. He was only a 10th down coming through sector 2. That is an absolutely storming margin from Fabrizio Donoso. We said we might see a 33. He's the only driver to do so. Half a second quicker than everyone else.
He's not an F1 esports driver for nothing. It's Fabrizio Donoso on pole position by half a second to Lenny Pepinsa. What a lap that is from Fabrizio Donoso. Tops of the timing sheets in Q2, tops of the timing sheets in Q3, and it's Fabrizio Donoso from TF10 on pole position. And I tell you what, TF10 look absolutely menacing from this race onwards, and definitely maybe even ones for the title. We're thinking quite a long way, quite a long into the future, but we never know. Fabrizio Donoso, what a lap, my friend. Take a bow, and it's pole position for the Chilean driver ahead of Lenny Pepinsa on the front row, with Duncan Hoffland starting in P3 and Luke Smith in P4 and Marcus Smith in Short in P5. But what a fantastic end to qualifying. And it's Fabrizio Donoso on pole position here at Silverstone.
Yeah, it is an absolutely superb end to qualifying. Then we'll be discussing the qualifying results shortly. There is going to be now, obviously, just that little break before the sessions. But before then, we're going to have a bit of a break ourselves. We will see you in a minute. Yeah, what a fantastic qualifying lap that was then. Fabrizio Donoso on pole position by half a second. Absolutely superb job from him. Lenny Pepinsa once again for the 3rd race in a row is on the front row of the grid, and Duncan Hoffland in 3rd place. I imagine a couple of drivers that might be kicking themselves in that session, Luke Smith and Jake Finch. It looked like the track conditions were at their best at the end of the session, just missing out. I think Luke Smith crossed the line maybe less than a second after the checkered flag went out. Did prove, though, once again, that he's got good pace to race clutch driver.
Yeah, absolutely so. Luke Smith does look very, very good tonight ahead of his teammate Patrick Sippos, who got knocked out in Q2. But yeah, Luke Smith definitely will be kicking himself. He probably may have been could have got on the front row, maybe even got on pole position there. We never know if he got that second lap in. The track was looking very, very good on that final run, as Fabrizio Donoso found out, getting pole position by almost under half a tenth of a second, 493 tenths of a second there if you want to be precise. But Yeah, an absolutely fantastic end to qualifying there. But Luke Smith definitely has the pace tonight, as you probably would assume. But yeah, absolutely fantastic to see Fabrizio Donoso on his debut, taking pole position. And what a way to take your debut.
Yeah, you can't really hope for much better than that. Some of those drivers further down the order, we've already spoken about them, but RVG, we haven't seen what those have been able to do. It's going to be an intriguing thing. We can confirm, though, looks like things are going to be dry for the race. So that means the alternate strategy is going to come into play. That's probably good news for those further back. Dylan Warren, we already said, is on that alternate strategy pole position. It's certainly going to be one to watch. There's going to be plenty of fast drivers coming from further back.
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, you got Ulas Zildrim, Piotr Stachlek, Patrick Sipos as well in P13 out of position. So, a lot of these drivers can definitely benefit from the alternate strategy. So, it's definitely going to be interesting how that plays out. And I probably would assume you were talking about it just before we started, with a lot of the drivers trying to go longer on their medium compound runs. We may even see pit stops around lap 20, lap 21, maybe hoping for a safety car, but we never know. So we should see maybe a lot of pit stops happening much later in the race than we would expect. So the alternate strategy definitely plays out for the bottom 11 here. We may see one of them on the top step of the podium.
Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't be surprised. We've seen it happen at plenty of other tracks. We've seen plenty of alternate strategies work out around here. The soft tyres do last a long time, though, so there's always an opportunity as well for, you know, drivers to pit quite late on the softs. I've seen before drivers go longer on the softs than they do on a set of mediums around this track, and maybe that will even be a possibility given that the top 10, although they have to start on a set of soft tyres, because we're having a lobby restart, it will be a fresh set of the soft tyres. I think other drivers and teams that we could talk about, ET8 having... They showed brilliant pace in the race in Austria, but this is the first time we've really seen great qualifying pace from them. Might only be 9th and 10th, but both of their drivers will be happy, I'm sure, to get towards the top 10. A chance to recover after what was a difficult race at Imola.
Yeah, absolutely. Mark Deloy at ET8 will definitely be happy with both the drivers getting into Q3. Obviously, P10 and P11 there. Obviously, starting on the soft compound tyres, so we'll have to wait and see how their pace is going in towards the race. So that should be a very, very interesting theme as we get ready to go. But yeah, it should be interesting how they play out. Hopefully they can try and secure top 8, top 6 maybe, if they can. One of the drivers, obviously, they've got incredible talent with Marcus Towler and Jake Finch, at the wheel there. So anything can happen. Obviously, Jonas Zildrum and Piotr Stachlek, let's not forget about them. They can definitely cause a few upsets starting at the back of the field, but we never know in these races, and anything can happen, and it usually does.
Yeah, that old famous saying about Formula 1. Hopefully, what is going to happen here is we're going to get 26 laps of absolutely scintillating action. A reminder of what the championship standings are then going into this race. It is the same point scoring scheme as they use in Formula 1. And it is VSR on top at the moment on 58 points. Race Clutch there in second. Porno Racing in third. And interestingly, the teams that managed to get both of their drivers into the top 10 are TF10 in 5th on the grid and in 5th in the standings, and ET8 in 7th in the standings. So some quite mixed up orders to what we weren't expecting. We've seen Donoso's pace in the wet. There's no reason to believe he won't be similarly quick in the dry. I think half a second a lap, though, even he's not going to be able to manage that gap throughout the race, surely.
Yeah, definitely so. Looking at the calibre of drivers we have on show here tonight, it's definitely going to be a very tough day for Fabrizio Donoso to pull 5/10 a lap out of this one. So it may be a little bit closer. He may be able to pull ever so slightly, maybe even half a tenth, maybe a tenth if he's lucky with that. But he's got a very, very fast driver of Lenny Pipinta just behind him in P2. So he can definitely cause a few upsets there. Luke Smith as well in P3 starting just behind him as well. So anything can happen. He's got a lot of very, very fast talent just behind him. So he's definitely got his work cut out. It may have been a little bit of a walk in the park for him in Q3 for pole position, but now in the race, it may just be a little bit of a different deciding factor.
Yeah, I think I'd expect things to be possibly very different in this race. A reminder then of what the grid is going to be for this race. It is Fabrizio Donoso on pole position, Lenny Pipinta in second, Hoffland, Smith, Short, Lundy, Coden Angolo, Jonah Martins, Marcus Towler and Jake Finch. Those drivers are in the top 10, but they do all have to start on a set of the soft tyres, as that is what they did their best laps in Q2, even though we did see quite a lot of rain towards the end of that session. It is going to be Dylan Warren starting in 11th place, Yuri Dovzan in 12th. We've got Jean-Christophe Lataxiere in 13th, Sipos in 14th, and Ryan Jacobs in 15th. Sipos and Jacobs possibly just that tiny bit out of position, having had their own troubles in qualifying, failing to get a run early on in the session where things probably really mattered, where the track conditions were definitely at the best in that Q2 session. And if we go through the drivers that went out in the first qualifying, obviously we didn't see R8G. They'll be starting in 19th and 20th. It'll be Badescu in 16th, Izar in 17th, Joost Noordijk in 18th, and we'll see what order Stachelek and Zeldrim are at the back of the grid. But watch for those drivers to come up, and I think also we've got to say watch for Donoso, and watch out for Papinta. He's been in superb form this season. He'll be hoping to make it 2 wins on the bounce.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Lenny Papinta has been absolutely sensational so far. Obviously, picking up a lot of great positions in the race. Obviously, Austria just got a little bit unlucky with how it played out. Imola was absolutely fantastic, led every single lap, pole position, and the fastest lap. He couldn't have asked for a better day out. But obviously, starting P2 now, he's got Fabrizio Donoso in front. This is definitely going to test his tricks today to see what he can pull off here in Silverstone. A dry race, so the alternate strategy will exist. So it makes it a little bit easier for the drivers in pure blue skies around here in Northamptonshire. So it should be a pretty decent drive for a lot of these guys, with Fabrizio Donoso on pole position, Lenny Papinta in P2, Duncan in P3, Luke Smith in P4, Marcus Short P5, Carlo Lindy P6, Gordon N'Golo 7th, Jonas Martins 8th, Marcus Fowler in 9th, Jake Finch in P10. And this is surely going to be an absolutely fantastic race and a fantastic 26 laps we have to offer soon.
Yes, certainly. I don't think I've really commentated on a boring race around Silverstone, even when I've had similar conditions to what we saw at Imola last time out. People managed to make an overtake. Can we look past Donoso for the victory? It's one of those circuits, again, where drivers don't really want to lead from the front too much, because it gives, obviously, everyone else an opportunity behind you to just save that tiny bit of ERS. I think with how close things could be in the dry, the undercut could well be an interesting one around here. We've also, on the account of occasion, though, seen drivers go for the overcut, which isn't something you can say too much about many circuits. But you could say it about this one, then, in Northamptonshire. It is the Silverstone circuit. 5.891 kilometres, 3.660 miles, with 18 turns, and those 2 DRS zones, one on the Wellington Straight and one on the Hangar Straight. This is definitely going to be one for everyone to watch out for, as we are going to take a look at what tyres everyone is on. Only real surprise there is Patrick Sipos. He's choosing to go for a bit more of an aggressive alternate strategy, choosing to start on a set of the softs.
Yeah, very, very interesting now. Obviously, with Sipos sort of out of position there, if you like. He's definitely going to have to push a lot there. So, obviously, starting on a fresh set of the soft compound tyres, that's probably a good idea for him to get the job going in towards the race. So obviously he's going to have to push as hard as he can to get the job going. So he's going to have to push very, very hard, and electing on the soft compound tyres is probably not surprising to me as it maybe is for a few people. But obviously a lot of people, almost everyone in the bottom 11 electing for the alternate strategy there, with everyone apart from Patrick Sipos on the medium compound tyres. But it should be an absolutely fantastic race as Stachelek starts in 19th, Ulas Zildjian in P20, with Joost Noordijk in 18th. They're going to have a very hard work to do from there, from 19th and 20th on the grid, and it should be a very, very fantastic 26 laps.
Yeah, definitely. RVG, of course, were a lot of people's pre-season favourites. I think we expected some fantastic performances from them. For one reason or another, it has just not worked out. Stachelek getting all of their points as Eldrim maybe threw away a possible victory at Austria, finding the wall, and had that contact last time out with Thomas Harvey for VSR, and that did cost him. But what can he do from 20th on the grid? RHG recovering from their qualifying ban after failing to submit their driver lineup in time. But it is Donoso on his debut on pole position. Can he give TF10 their first victory of the season? They won out on track, of course, in Austria before that victory was controversially, if you're a TF10 fan, some other teams would say fairly, taken off of them for infringement of the pit lane rules at Austria. Hopefully we don't see any of that today. All the cars are now in position as we wait for the lights to come on here at Silverstone, and we can get round number 3 of the championship underway here at the Global Championship. We've got 5 lights. Quite a long hold, but they go out, and the British Grand Prix is underway straight away. Donoso has got a decent start. Lenny Papinta trying to get an overlap, trying to get alongside the Aston Martin driver, but it is Donoso in the lead of this race. Papinta in second place, Duncan Hoffman in third, but Luke Smith trying to send one down the inside instantly in towards Village and the loop. Hoffman's going to have the inside line for the loop, but Smith might just be able to get the traction on him, and these two battling could allow the front two to just escape, crucially, in the first couple of laps, but it is Donoso leading. Papinta in second. Smith has now got ahead of Hoffland as Carter-Lundy battling hard with Jake Finch here and almost pushing Codon N'Golo round on the one towards Luffield as we've had a spinner in the background, and that is Jean-Christophe Lataxiere, who's had a bit of a moment. Still manages to recover though, not too far off the back of the field as Ildrim also not with the greatest start of the race as his teammate Stachelek is all over the back of Joost Noordijk at the moment. Izar's run a bit wide, and oh, Noordijk just being tapped there, coming through Kops by Stachelek. I think we've seen one Dutchman already have a spin there in the last 12 months, and drivers are still going on about it today. That would have been quite a massive crash, I think, for Joost Noordijk. Sipos has had a brilliant start on his fresh set of soft tyres, but it is Donoso still leading for Papinta as Lundy and Finch still battle the Canadian up into 8th.
Yeah, their brilliant start from Fabrizio Donoso getting away from the pack. More yellow flags, and that is Joost Noordijk having a few more issues maybe with his wheel. Once again, he spins it round and he spins it round there. Just unfortunate to see there. Just had such a bad Grand Prix as Ulas Azildran also comes in towards the pit lane. That is his race over as well. A few incidences at Stowe there as we keep on going. There goes Luke Smith in towards P2 there, gets in front of Lenny Papinta now, can try and work with his ex-Alpine teammates of Fabrizio Donoso. Luke Smith obviously a part of the Alpine Esports Academy with lace crutches. There goes Patrick Sipos, the other brace clutch driver, gets the job done in front of in front of Jake Smith there. Yes, Jake Smith, sorry about that. Into P9 goes Patrick Sipos. He's absolutely a man on a mission there, doing absolutely fantastically in P9. His next target, Carter Lundy in P8 with Codon N'Golo in P7, doing well for FBR as well. But Luke Smith, Lenny Papinta and Fabrizio Donoso still holding tight, with Fabrizio Donoso leading by 0.4 of a second. Yeah,
brilliant job by Donoso at the moment, doing what you'd expect. Luke Smith's been able to work his way up the order, seems to enjoy going for those moves into Village and the loop, so that might be one for Donoso to watch out for a bit later on. If we get the biggest winners and losers up from the first few laps of that race, unsurprisingly, Lataxiere and Noordijk with their own issues, losing a few places, and perhaps also unsurprisingly, Sipos gaining 5 places on his fresh set of soft tyres. This is brilliant for him. Obviously had those issues in qualifying, unable to set a time on the set of the softs, and the intermediates just weren't quick enough. But he's got himself right back into the action. It's been a good first couple of laps for the race clutch team. DRS has now been enabled, and apart from the 3 drivers at the back, everyone else is still in one train. That's going to be good news for those on the mediums at the front, Dylan Warren and the 2 Shazoo drivers. Maybe this could be a great opportunity for Shazoo to score their first points.
Absolutely so. And speaking of Shazoo, Milan Badesau just grabs in front of Ryan James there for P14, using his muscles around the outside of the loop there to get alongside Ryan Jacobs and gets the job done as Piotr Stachelek now bustling away with Azar in P16. The 2 drivers coming together. Azar shoves in the door ever so slightly. They're still going side by side, surely not through Kots. Comes Piotr Stachelek. This is getting very, very tight. Round the outside, still goes Stachelek. They're still side by side going into Kops. Their fair share all around. They're still going side by side into Magnus and Beckett. And it's Stachelek. A brilliant move there up into P16. Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen, you should take notice. A brilliant move there for Piotr Stachelek. He moves himself up into P16 as Ryan Jacobs and Milan Badesau continue to battle away for 14th and 15th, for Stachelek starting to get to grips there with his medium compound tyres. Yeah, doing a good job there. Stachelek, an absolutely brilliant move round the outside of Kops there on Izar, and fair play to the FER driver for leaving the space, leaving him the room. Could have easily shoved him up and over the curb, and that may have caused an incident. Azildrim and Noordijk have carried on. Azildrim's got onto a set of mediums, so he's legally got to pick for another set of tyres, even though those mediums would last towards the end. Noordijk softs won't last towards the end. Both of them are going to be hoping for a safety car in these early stages to really give themselves a good opportunity
of getting any sort of points for them. It looks like it's going to be another tough race for Azildrim. Jake Finch on the back of Patrick Sipos, who is on the back of Cartalundi, who's on the back of Kodon N'Golo. You start to get a feeling of what is happening in the race. We are on that DRS train, and it is crucial that those on the mediums have just been able to stay in range. In fact, Dylan Warren was probably closer to any of the cars in front of him there to making a move into Brooklands at the exit of the Wellington Straight than all the others. So already he's doing a very respectable job on that set of mediums. The longer he stays in contact, the better it's going to be for him, because he's going to have good tyres at the end. The downside to everyone else being in this train, though, you might have to make the moves when everyone is in a DRS train. We've already seen from Luke Smith, it is possible to overtake here at different points of the circuit. Don't be surprised if Village and the Loop become very popular overtaking points in the latter part of this race. Don't be surprised. And in the end, I was about to say, don't be surprised if Dylan Warren goes for the move into Stowe. Just a bit too far behind. The Statulet continues his moves up to field. He's now up into 15th. The R8G driver, 10 different teams, of course, in this championship. And the R8G driver in the Haas, Statulet, after their qualifying ban, he's really working his way up well, up into 15th.
Yeah, absolutely. So Statulet doing very, very well on his medium compound tyres alongside Dylan Warren, the lead alternate strategy runner in P12 at the moment. Doing well to stick with Marcus Dowell and the rest of the soft runners so far. So doing well for Parnell. There is his teammate Cartalundi in PA at the moment, just keeping tight to Kodon N'Golo in P7 with Yona Martins in P6, but Duncan Hoffman getting quite close to Lenny Papinter as well, alongside Luke Smith, bustling away with Fabrizio Donoso. 4/10 of a gap there as Lenny Papinter just getting a little bit out of shape there, out of Woodcut as they make their way through in towards Cook's Corner. Usually fully flat in these modern time F1 cars. A little bit of lift to make sure you don't spin the wheels up there as they make their way through. Maggots and Beckett's no overtaking moves just yet, just sitting in this DRS train. But I tell you what, Luke Smith may just want a little bit of a go on Fabrizio Donoso here. Does Fabrizio use any of his DRS? He's a little bit lower than Luke Smith, but Luke Smith is going to close up and close up and close up. A little bit of a gap there, just started to close up ever so slightly, and the door was slammed shut by Fabrizio Donoso, and he's still going to have to hold on with 20 laps to go next time by.
Yeah, indeed, that's probably just close as Donoso would want Luke Smith to get in. You can see neither of them have really used a lot of VRS at the moment. It's understandable that Donoso's used the most in the lead. He's not got the drag reduction system. I'm sure we're familiar with Formula 1 rules, but if you're within a second of the car in front at the detection point, which here is just part way around this corner and also coming through Chapel as well, you'll get the DRS down the Wellington Straight or down the Hangar Straight if you want to use it to overtake the car in front. I feel like if Cartalundi didn't have the DRS, I feel like Patrick Sipos would be all over the back of the Alpha Tauri, but at the moment he's just got to try and sit behind, just got to be patient. He was the only one outside the top 10 to start on a set of soft tyres, so he's got fresh softs, as have all of the others in this field, and they are still staying incredibly close together. We've still got a 17-car train. This is prime territory, maybe in a lap or two. If someone wants to try something different, you might see someone come in and put a set of the medium tyres on just to try and break this train, and just to think of something else. If you are Sipos, if you are either of the two ET8 drivers, it's really going to be tough in this race to make any more on-track overtakes until the tyres start to wear out more.
Yeah, absolutely so, but obviously pitting, the nature of the pit lane is very, very long, so you're going to lose a lot of time pitting for those medium compound tyres, but you just got to hope that the pace is there on the mediums, as once again this battle for the lead between the top four of Donoso, Luke Smith, Lenny Papinter and Duncan Hoffman getting much more tighter. Lenny Papinter really closing the gap between himself and Luke Smith as they enter lap 7. But yeah, we may see a few drivers electing for the mediums in the next few laps. I don't think we probably will. They just want to keep together in this train to make sure they're all together for the time being. They all seem to have fairly similar pace on each tyre, so that's quite concerning. Well, not concerning, quite encouraging for the top 12 for the likes of Dylan Warren down to Russell Zildjian, and then Jos Noordijk down in P20. Unfortunate with that spinning. He's battling away with Zildjian as now, as here comes Lenny Papinter once again, really closing up the gap between himself and Luke Smith at Lovefield. Luke Smith doing well just to stay tight with Fabrizio Donoso, not needing to use much ERS, as Donoso's just used a little bit, still on about 80%, with Luke Smith though on about 90, alongside Lenny Papinter on similar as well. Duncan Hoffland in P4 and 73 as well. So they've not been using their ERS way too much, but they have still been using it ever so slightly just to make sure they have that gap. And here comes Luke Smith, 4/10 close to Fabrizio Donoso. This is one of the closest he's been to an overtake. Does he want to close up anymore? Does he want to try and take the lead? He's going to pull to the right hand side, but the gap just wasn't there. And once again, Luke Smith has to stare at the back of that Aston Martin.
Yeah, this is definitely one of the tracks where you feel the dirty air being... Drivers try and get away with as little downforce as possible just because of the high-speed nature, but you still need quite a sizable amount to give yourself a good opportunity. And talking about giving yourself a good opportunity, they're trying something different here. Marcus Short and Marcus Towler, the two Marcuses, making their way into the pit lane. An early pit stop at the end of lap 7. Both of them coming in sync for sets of the medium tyres. They will come out ahead of Zildrim and Joost Noordijk in plenty of free air. So we'll just get the gap to change for the gap to the leader to see what sort of pace they are setting with the leaders. I wouldn't expect at the moment them to be too much quicker than Donoso, Smith and Papinta. Maybe in round about lap 10 or lap 11 is when we're really going to see the advantage of those fresh medium tyres, as Cartalundi still closes up to the back of Kodo Ningolo, who's had a fantastic start to this race. FER look like they could be picking up some decent points, and Kodo Ningolo's first point of the season. Luke Smith just can't quite get close enough through Chapel at the moment. He's about 4/10 behind at the DRS point. He's closer here, but I think as we'll just see what happens to that delta as Izzar becomes the first driver to get a penalty. See Luke Smith, the car just understeering slightly through Chapel. We're back up towards that 4/10 point at the activation point.
Yeah, this is the closest he's been, so he's had a pretty good sector 2, and he may want to take the lead, and does so down the inside. Goes Luke Smith and gets the job done. Luke Smith up in towards the lead of the British Grand Prix, his home race, and gets the job done. Meanwhile, just in the background as well, Cartalundi getting the job done, and Gordon Ningolo for P6 as Gordon Ningolo and Jake Fish decide to call it a day on soft compound tyres. And Luke Smith, one of the fastest guys out there at the moment, is that's Cartalundi with the fast lap of the Grand Prix with a 28.398. But Luke Smith getting the job done, did not want to wait around any longer, and Luke Smith up into the lead of this Grand Prix. And now Fabrizio Donoso is under the claws of Lenny Papinta.
Yeah, the problem is for Papinta, and that's why it was so crucial Smith got these moves done earlier on. His third car in the DRS train. We saw how tough it was for Luke Smith to get the overtake done. It took him a couple of laps to get close enough to Donoso to make that move. Is Papinta going to be able to do anything at the moment, or is he going to wait until everything has settled out with the pit stops? We're going to see where Marcus Short and the Jake Finch are, where these drivers are relative to the others. And Marcus Short there is ahead of Kodo Ningolo, and I think he was ahead of him before the pit stop period as well. So not a lot really changing there. Marcus Towler still just behind his teammate. So the undercut at this point hasn't really worked out too much. Hasn't changed much. 30.4 seconds is the gap between Marcus and Luke Smith. We'll see what that is as we head towards the finish line at the moment, as Donoso is a lot closer than Luke Smith ever managed to get at any point. He's going to say, "You've had the lead for one lap, sunshine. I'll take it back. Thank you very much." Donoso back out in front.
Yeah, Fabrizio Donoso getting the job done there. Luke Smith now has to try and keep it together. Obviously, there's still a lot of laps times there, as one of the front runners, Duncan Hoffland, decides to call it a day on the soft compound tyres as well. He's the next to pits on towards the medium compound tyres, and Fabrizio Donoso already extending his advantage again in the fast lap, immediately replaced by Patrick Simpleton at 28.295 as they all make their way through up in towards sector 1 and in towards sector 2. They're still doing quite well on these soft compound tyres so far. The top few in this race so far. They make their way down the Wellington Straight once again. DRS wide open for Lenny Papinta and Luke Smith, and now Fabrizio Donoso. You may think he might be just trying to come to the pit lane here. How much he's been pulling away. 5/10 so far in towards sector 2 and in towards sector 1. So we may be able to seeing him in the pit lane to try and go to the medium compound tyres, as Luke Smith's pace just dropped ever so slightly in these past few corners, and maybe getting overtaken by Fabrizio Donoso. He might be trying something different as well.
Yeah, we just caught the tail end of what looked like a fantastic battle between Stachelek and Ryan Jacobs. Stachelek making the move on the DRS towards Brooklands, and Jacobs trying to fight round the outside of Luffield, having to yield there. So 9th and 10th for them at the moment. That's 3rd and 4th out of those that are on the alternate strategy. These pit stops have broken the train up. Dylan Warren is now outside of the DRS range of Patrick Sipos, as Luke Smith, his teammates, trying to go down the inside again of Fabrizio Donoso, and this time it's a bit tougher for them, and both of them are on their way into the pit. Smith's trying to overtake in the pit lane. That is allowed, and that is very sneaky from Mr. Smith. He has taken the effective leading this race by just being a bit braver, braking towards the pit limit line.
Well, we've seen that before in real life with Sebastian Vettel trying something 2015, 2016, was it, in China? Let's see how the pit lane plays out. Luke Smith gets service first alongside Fabrizio Donoso, and Fabrizio Donoso is behind it. It was very, very interesting between those two as Lenny Pepinter comes out in a net P3 as well, and that is very, very decent driving. They're very aware driving from Luke Smith to get up in towards the net lead in the pit stops. And now comes out in towards P10, but Will Duncan Hoffman, they're side by side coming out of the exit. Luke Smith is going to have to try this one down the inside. Duncan Hoffman on the racing line, and Duncan Hoffman takes the net lead. The undercut has worked on McLaren, maybe at VSR as well, as they come down the back straight. Luke Smith will have the DRS. Will he want this position back? They're going to go side by side down the back straight. Does Luke Smith want any part of this? No, he doesn't. And Duncan Hoffman takes the net lead in this Grand Prix.
Yeah, brilliantly worked undercut then by Duncan Hoffman to take the net lead of this Grand Prix. Coden N'Golo has got a 5-second penalty for corner cutting and gaining a place then. Might be able to get that one removed by the stewards, as further up toward the actual lead of this race, Cortalundi has now re-overtaken Patrick Sipos, and he's diving his way into the pits as is Sipos. So everyone who started on a set of the soft tyres has come into the pits. It looks like Luke Smith is all over the back, though, of Duncan Hoffman. We've already seen earlier on, he's not bothered with these playing patient games. He wants to have the lead of this race as early as possible, and it looks like he's going to take it here. Is he going to choose to lift off? No, he is going to attack into Stowe, down the inside, and that is Luke Smith back ahead of Duncan Hoffman. Just shows how costly that slight hesitation maybe on the pit line. It looked as though, in fact, his AI slowed down even more. To be fair to Fabrizio Donoso, his AI slowed down more than Luke Smith's once it got the pit limiter on. He could have been the car in the net lead of this race at the moment. He is now in 12th as we've got a yellow flag, and that is Jake Finch, who has retired on the way into the pit lane. Our first retirement in the race.
Yeah, unfortunate to see there Jake Finch retiring in the pit lane, which makes it down to 19. Unfortunate for E88 there was Patrick Sipos, and all of them battling away with Jonas Martins, maybe getting a little bit of contact there. Lost a lot of time, but here comes Patrick Sipos on the back of Marcus Fowler, but with Marcus Fowler with the DRS, is just going to hold on ever so slightly, as now, oh, actually, there goes Patrick Sipos anyway, as Marcus Fowler lets him go. Down the inside goes Patrick Sipos, and up into P15 he goes. Meanwhile, further up the field, it's Fabrizio Donoso really attacking Duncan Hoffman at the moment as they make their way through. Cops fully flat out, some full attack. Goes the Aston Martin driver, Stachelek up in front, makes his way up in towards the lead, but we stay on board with Luke Smith and Duncan Hoffman through in towards Maggots and Beckett, rounding the right-hander. Here comes Fabrizio Donoso. He's in prime position to take Duncan Hoffman here. Duncan Hoffman with the DRS, they may even go 3 wide. Here comes Donoso to the right-hand side. Is he going to get Luke Smith as well? Down the inside goes Donoso. It's very, very tight 3-wide affair. Still side by side, Donoso and Hoffman. Luke Smith just in the middle of this. Does he want to go down the inside as Hoffman? Yes, he does. Donoso around the outside. They make contact ever so slightly. Hoffman and Donoso side by side in towards Club, and round the final corner, it's Hoffman who gets the job done. He's still remaining in P9. Brilliant defending, brilliant attacking, and Donoso just holds on to P10, but he's not done yet.
He's not done yet, and I think Lenny Pepinter's thinking, hello, I want a bit of this action. I might just be struggling a bit more in this race, but I've got a brilliant opportunity here if you drivers keep battling, and this could also just allow Luke Smith to escape. You can see he's got that gap up to 6/10 of a second. That's the biggest gap he's had by a long, long way at any point when he's been ahead of Hoffman, Donoso, or Pepinter, depending on who's been behind him. Marcus Short and Cortalundi are now battling as well for 12th and 13th place at the moment. Everything will settle down, of course, once we've had the pit stop periods, but they are still 12 seconds behind Jean-Christophe Lataxier, who's a bit on his own, so almost 20 seconds off the lead of this race, which is currently Peter Stachelek, just ahead of Dylan Wobben. Yene Dovzan in 3rd place, as Donoso and Hoffman are actually going side by side through Maggots and Beckett's there. We didn't think we'd see a move through that part of the circuit. I can only imagine Hoffman's made a tiny bit of a mistake, and now that's going to put him under pressure from Lenny Pepinter, who's going to think about a move, heading on the run down towards Stowe. Is Donoso going to have to defend here? He isn't, and he's back up into 9th place. Smith in the net lead, Donoso in a net 2nd, Hoffman in a net 3rd, and Pepinter looking very racy behind. You don't see many moves on the entrance to Maggots and Beckett's.
Yeah, absolutely. So Fabrizio Donoso on full attack there, using the ERS out of the outside of Woodcote there, and got the job done on Duncan Hoffland down the inside at Cop's corner, and now can try and attack on Luke Smith. Duncan Hoffland maybe feeling a little bit angry with that one, but Fabrizio Donoso was a fair move side by side, going up towards Cop's corner and through in towards Maggins and Beckett, and maybe Fabrizio Donoso might want something on Luke Smith here as they come down the back straight. Luke Smith just holds on for now, but Fabrizio Donoso is breathing down his neck, and this battle for the net lead is getting much tighter and tighter, with Luke Smith leading his home Grand Prix. Donoso in P2, Duncan Hoffland in P3, and Lenny Papinta in P4. As here they come now, Fabrizio Donoso closing up to Luke Smith to make the way through Cox corner, through in towards Maggins and Beckett. Coming on now, it's still Luke Smith doing very, very well so far, as Lenny Papinta getting very, very tight to the back of Duncan Hoffland, and maybe we could even have a four-wide affair if they get this right out of Chapel. A little bit of a spin there for Papinta. Here comes Donoso on the back straight on Luke Smith. Does he want any part of this? As Lenny Papinta may have one part of this on Duncan Hoffland. They stay together one more lap, and Luke Smith just stays ahead for this time around with about 10 laps to go.
Yeah, this 4-car train for the lead of the race, with all this battling coming on, has become a 6-car train for the lead of the race. Cartolondi getting ahead of Marcus Short there and joining the back of this pack. Maybe already the fact that Marcus Short pitted earlier than anyone else off that set of soft tyres onto the mediums. Maybe he's already starting to pay the price as well. Stanchulek and Jonah Martins, are they coming to the pits? They're getting rid of their tyres as Sipos sends one down the inside of Marcus Short there, just coming into Village. Can he hold it all the way around the outside of the loop? This would be a brilliant move from the Alpine driver. Not on this occasion, so he's attacking. His teammate is defending at this moment in time. Is Donoso going to go for it? Not on this occasion. Is Sipos going to go for it, though? Round the outside of Brooklands. That gives you the inside line for Loffield. He's got a 3-second time penalty, which he might be able to get removed. Don't think he'll be too bothered about that one, though. Sipos is up into 12th place for now. Let's not count him out from this race.
Definitely not. That should be getting removed there from Patrick Sipos, obviously getting a little bit forced off the track there, and getting that penalty should be removed by the stewards after the race. But yeah, Marcus Short and Patrick Sipos definitely not out of this one. Neither is Carter who's doing very well. Dylan Warren, Yuri Dobson pit from P2 and P3. Here comes Fabrizio Donoso and Lenny Papinta attacking Hoffland and Smith once more. Do they have any part of this? He's closing up. There goes Lenny Papinta. There goes Duncan Hoffland and Fabrizio Donoso having a look down the inside to try and defend from Papinta. It's all happening in these latter stages of the lap, and it still remains as it is with Luke Smith in the lead, for the net lead, sorry, with Fabrizio Donoso in P8, Duncan Hoffland P9, Lenny Papinta in P10, but it's really heating up now as they get in towards the net lead. Luke Smith now up in towards P5 as Dylan Warren and Yuri Dobson pit in the lead, and now they only have Letexier, Milan Beresau, Izar and Ryan Jacobs. And there goes Lenny Papinta trying it around the outside, which turns to the inside, and Duncan Hoffland that's the leaving room. They're still battling away. Lenny Papinta trying his best to keep up with Duncan Hoffland. It's just going to lose him lots of time, and this is going to bring Carsolenti in this fight. Duncan Hoffland is going to defend Lenny Papinta. Want anything down the inside? No, he's not, and neither does Fabrizio Donoso and Luke Smith, and this is getting tastier and tastier by the second.
Yeah, it seemed there on the lap before that Donoso made a deliberate choice to not go ahead of Luke Smith, and that's what gave Duncan Hoffland that little bit of an opportunity. And look who's not too far behind them at this moment in time. In fact, he's just visible in shot there. He can see this train, of course, and it is Piotr Stachulek. Started a long way down the order, obviously, after the qualifying ban. Started in 19th place. His teammate started in 20th. It's gone a lot better for Stachulek than it has for Ulas Zildrim in this race. Let's see what's happening back towards the lead, though. Is Donoso going to go for it on this occasion on Luke Smith? Luke sticks to the middle of the road. Donoso deciding once more, do you know what? I'm happy to stay behind. I'm happy to save a bit of ERS. It's all got the feeling that they're saving up right towards the end, and you got a good indication there by the deltas of just how effective the DRS can be. Stachulek was about 1.3 seconds behind Marcus Short coming through Chapel. That was 1.7 by the time they got to the breaking point for Stowe. So could really do, sooner rather than later, with getting within that DRS range. It is still Letaxier leading on his own at the front of the field. We can't take our eyes off this battle, though. Smith, Donoso, Hoffland, Pinter, Lundy. Sipos does have that penalty. Short, Stouchalek, Warren, Dovzan, Koda Ningola, and Ryan Jacobs aren't too far behind. We could have a 12-car train for the lead soon.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is how amazing this battle has been, and definitely so who'll be licking his lips is Piotr Stachnik if he gets his foot down ever so slightly. But this battle for P2 on track P1 for the net lead is Fabrizio Donoso versus Luke Smith, and I wonder if Luke Smith and Fabrizio Donoso just decide to play games with each other. Maybe Luke Smith just lets him go in these next few laps just to make sure he has P2, or maybe around lap 25-26, so they can try and go for a full attack mode at the last lap of the Grand Prix. Fabrizio is trying all he can to keep up to Luke Smith at the moment, and maybe try for a move down the inside going out of the back straight. Here comes Fabrizio Donoso, closest he's been for a long time on Luke Smith. Does he want to try anything? Yes, he is. Down the inside goes the Chilean driver, and Donoso gets back the net lead, and he's up into P2. Luke Smith had nothing to do with it, and maybe he's just going to try and stick back this time around. Maybe make sure he's in those crucial two and a bit tenths of a second, and maybe try and attack near the end of the Grand Prix. But Fabrizio Donoso gets up in towards the net lead as Stachulek sets the fast lap of the Grand Prix, immediately replaced by Jernej Dobson with a 27.585 on the soft compound tyres.
Yeah, it's getting incredibly close at the moment. Stachulek has caught up to the back of this train. You can see him there within 4 tenths of a second of Marcus Short. So where's he going to think about the moves as Sipos has gone for one on Carter Lundy in towards the loop? Couldn't quite make that one pull off, but he's shown his intent. You've got to try something different. If you're in this DRS train, you can't just rely on the traditional passing points, as again he throws the nose out towards Brooklands there. Really aggressive at the moment is Sipos. Obviously, with those 3-second time penalty, he knows he's either got to A, overtake as many cars as possible to negate the effect of that penalty, or B, try to get some moves done in case he can get that penalty removed, as Stachulek almost going alongside Marcus Short there. Just has to stay back for now. Those soft tyres are giving him plenty of grip. It's just where can he use it? What parts of the track can he do anything about? And he might just be starting to get held up here by Short, who has got those older tyres. Smith doesn't look close enough to overtake Donoso this time around. Is Lenny Papinta going to be close enough to Duncan Hoffland? No, he's not. Is Stachulek close enough to Marcus Smith? No, he is not. They're all just having to stick in their position for now, following by formation. Down the hanger, straight down the inside, though, possibly into Vale. Oh, Marcus Short taps the back of Patrick Sipos, and that is for TF10, man, who is facing the wrong direction. I think trying to break late to defend from Stachulek, just asking a bit too much of those mediums.
Yeah, so unfortunate there for Marcus Short. He's still in this, theoretically still, with only 4 tenths back on Jernej Dobson, who's battling away with Dylan Warren, with now he's Stachulek just a little bit on his own so far, about 8 tenths back on Patrick Sipos. This is turning into about a 12-car lead, or about 12-car train for the lead of this Grand Prix as we move over further up the field. Lenny Papinta really attacking Duncan Hoffman now, so is Carter Lundy, and so is Patrick Sipos. As actually Patrick Sipos has a little bit of a tap of Carter Lundy there, as Stachulek is trying something on Patrick Sipos as well, trying to close up as best as he can. But Luke Smith doing very, very well so far, just to keep up with Donoso. Through in towards Cops Corner, 3 tenths flickering into 4 tenths has been so far. Does Luke Smith maybe want to try something in towards down the inside, going in towards the back straight? He may just want to think about it one more time. 3 and a bit tenths to enter in towards the DRS trains. Does Lenny Papinta want anything on Duncan Hoffman? He's closing up, maybe a little bit too far back. Does Luke Smith want to have a look down the inside? No, he doesn't, and he's still going to have to wait a little bit longer, and so is Carter Lundy. He's actually sort of closed that, well, he's sort of got a gap to himself between Patrick Sipos and Carter Lundy, doing very, very well so far. Maybe even sneak up in towards a net P4, maybe even a net P3 after the end of this race, as young Christopher Letexia still hasn't pitted yet, and this is what you were talking about, trying to go longer on the medium compound tyres. It hasn't worked out this time around for Letexia to maybe try and win, but he's definitely closing up the field in his private battle.
Yeah, it looked like there Lundy was thinking about down the inside of Papinta. Papinta was thinking of down the inside of Hoffland. Nothing doing. It's clear Letexia is going for the safety car strategy, just thinking about doing something different. Marcus Short now obviously having dropped back is really starting to suffer, and that is Ryan Jacobs who goes down the inside. He's up into 11th. That could possibly be 10th place though after the penalty for Sipos, as Warren and Dovzan. Parnell versus Shizou here. Of course, Jernej Dovzan determined to try to hold on for Shizou's first points of the season. Just going down towards 10th place for now. These drivers catching up to Letexia, who has got to come into the pits. If there's a safety car though in the next lap or two, for whatever reason, he is going to be looking very smart indeed, and it will be intriguing to see what those on the soft tyres do, and even those who've already come into the pits for a set of the mediums, what they think about doing on this occasion. Do they stay, or do they come into the pits? On board with the leader's teammate then, on board with last week's race winner, Lenny Papinta, who for the last, it seems like the last 8-9 laps since they've come out of the pit lane, has been all over the back of Duncan Hoffland. He must be determined to get a Husky chocolate bar after the end of the race, because the advertising's definitely been working on Papinta. That's all he's seen for the past 10 minutes.
Yeah, absolutely so. Lenny Papinta trying his best to close up to Duncan Hoffland, but the overtaking opportunities have just not been there for the Frenchman. And now Carter Lundy is going to want something down the inside. Maybe he's sooner or rather than later, but Luke Smith now is really going to have to put the foot down if he wants to try and get this win now. Fabrizio Donoso has just been pulling away 5/10, almost 6/10, flicking away at the moment, and Fabrizio is really doing well in his race pace. Luke Smith is going to have to try something if he wants to try and get this race win. Duncan Hoffman as well, just doing well to keep with Luke Smith at the moment. Once again, he's going to have to put his foot down if he wants anything from this race, and everyone from about 3rd down to 10th is really going to have to try something to get the job done if they want this Grand Prix. Also, it's just been brilliant to see from about a 9-car train for the win of this race, which may turn into a 10-car train if Ryan Jacobs picks up the pace ever so slightly. But here they come again. Luke Smith doing very, very well out of Magnussen, Beckerson, Chapel. Just about 4-5 back at the moment, so it won't be enough to try and make a move down this inside yet. But he's doing well just to keep up with Fabrizio, and maybe having a little bit of a look down the inside, maybe to just try and make Fabrizio nervous, but it's not working out. With only about 5-4 laps to go, it's going to have to be a little bit of squeaky bum time now for Luke Smith.
Yeah, the final lap of the race, Smith would have gone for that move. I'm almost certain of it. It looked like he was close enough. I think they all just know that if they go for a bit of a dive bomb, if they put themselves and the car in front of them offline, there's plenty more cars waiting behind you in the wings to go for this overtake as well, and to take advantage of your eagerness. So, well, everyone just being a bit careful. Statulex back on the inside though. Oh, Patrick Sipos this time just goes over the curb. Tried that a couple of times as Statulex and can't quite get the move to work. He must really be feeling frustrated in that position. He's had the grip on those soft tyres, but the mediums are a brilliant race time around here, and they're proving to be so at the moment. There's not really enough of a delta between Statulex softs and Warren softs and the rest of everyone else on the mediums, but I'm really to be able to make the moves where it counts. And this could be where the frustration just creeps into some of these drivers. They know they're so close time-wise to getting a victory, even if they're not that close position-wise. I mean, Donoso in the net lead of this race at the moment. Yene Dovzan is only 2.4 seconds behind him. He's in the net 9th place as things stand. Incredibly close heading into the final 4 laps. Is Luke Smith close enough, though, to Fabrizio Donoso to decide that this is the one where he decides to take the lead? Again, just feints to the inside, and again, it's not really worth it for him, as Jonah Martins becomes our second retirement in the pit lane.
Absolutely so, as the Texiet finally comes into the pit lane. So now it's all on track, and we have a battle for the on-track lead. Fabrizio Donoso leads with Luke Smith in P2, Duncan Hoffland in P3 with Lenny Papinta in P4, with Carter Lundy just behind in P5. That is your top 5. Here comes Lenny Papinta really close to the back of Duncan Hoffland once again. And once again, just not quite close enough to make the move sticks. And we have a 9-car train for the win of this race here, from Fabrizio Donoso all the way down to Yene Dovzan, with Shazoo picking up their first points of the season so far. Fantastic race it has been for Yene Dovzan so far, and he's only 3 laps away from a 4-point scoring position for Shazoo. Meanwhile, Luke Smith and Fabrizio Donoso fighting for their first race wins of the season. Duncan Hoffland fighting for his second after his win at Austria. Here comes Luke Smith with only 3 laps to go. He just want to try and sit back for these final 3 laps, just to maybe try and go for an attack on the final lap, and he's going to have to do it down that back straight with only 1 overtaking opportunity to go. And Fabrizio Donoso may not have a choice but defend quite aggressively. They come down the back straight now. DRS wide open for Luke Smith. You can see he's been charging his battery quite a lot and maybe thinking of something on the final lap. Meanwhile, Carter Lundy closing up to Lenny Papinta once again. Can't find anything, and it's going to get a little bit tasty, I reckon, in 3 laps time.
Yeah, this train continues on again for a few more laps as Carter Lundy is thinking about it this time down the inside of Lenny Pepinta. Pepinta saw him coming, and it has just forced the Frenchman offline that tiny little bit. So this could be an opportunity. Look at Sipos as well. You could throw a handkerchief over the four of them. Pepinta, Lundy, Sipos and Stachelek making their way through Abbey, incredibly close. Do not be surprised to see a bit of a dive from someone here, and it's Patrick Sipos down the inside at Village. That forces Lundy off of the circuit. This is what Dylan Woman and Yuni Dovzan into play all of a sudden, and this is a bit of a break for Lenny Pepinta, who was under real pressure about half a minute ago. Carter Lundy, he's now going to have to defend from Patrick Sipos. He tries to cover that inside line. Sipos is far enough alongside, gets his way through. Has he got enough of an overlap to keep hold of that position? And finally, Patrick Sipos has managed to make his way past Carzalundi. They've used up a lot of tyres in doing so, and Dylan Warren, he's also lost out a tiny bit in that one as well. So Parnell Racing seeing both of their drivers drop a position, and that all started with Carzalundi thinking, right, now is the opportunity. He went for a move on Lenny Pepinta, just couldn't quite make it work, and this has given everyone else an opportunity as Luke Smith is dropping down the order slightly here. Has he disconnected?
I think he has. He's got a red X next to his name. That's heartbreaking for Luke Smith. He was doing so well on course for his first race win, maybe, and Luke Smith has disconnected from the session. Hopefully, we can try and get him back in as Carter Lundy's been tapped by I think that was maybe Yanni Dawson or Beata Stachelek. There's a lot of bustling over Luke Smith's AI there, which has brought Fabrizio Donoso by over a second to Duncan Hoffland there. So unfortunate there for Luke Smith, and he's going to have to work all that. Hopefully he can get back in the lobby as quickly as possible, but so unfortunate there for Luke Smith, and he is falling down the order. But this has surely given the win now to Fabrizio Donoso. Luke Smith was on course for maybe a race win if he caught up for Donoso. His pace was looking so good, and on the penultimate lap of the Grand Prix disconnects. And with only one lap to go, it's Fabrizio Donoso is looking good for his first race win on his debut race.
Yeah, I mean, if Smith can get back in, there's a big gap back to Izar, who does have a penalty at the moment. So there's an opportunity for, a couple of points here for Luke Smith, but definitely not what he would have wanted. Duncan Hoffland, he's gained a position out of that, but he might be under a lot more pressure now because he's not got much ERS, and he's dropped outside of the DRS zone of Lenny Pepinta. So could we see the Williams driver get himself up into second place in the next few seconds? You can see Hoffland there just trying to get away from Pepinta, who doesn't look like he's close enough on this occasion to go for a move. And the McLaren stays ahead for now. Just over 1 lap to go. Donoso rounding Vale and Club for the penultimate time. 1.3 seconds ahead. Surely it's going to be another on-track win for TF10, and I can't see anyone taking this one off them.
No, definitely not. Fabrizio Donoso is only a lap away from his first win in TGC, and it's going to be a debut victory for the Chilean driver. But this battle for P2 is going to rage on between Duncan Hoffland, Lenny Pepinta, Patrick Sipos, Carter Lundy, Peter Stachelek, Dylan Warren, Yerne Dobson, Ryan Jacobs maybe. It's all bustling away for these final few positions. Here comes Lenny Pepinta with the DRS. Duncan Hoffland does not have a lot of ERS to play around with. Does Lenny want to send it this time around? He's a little bit too far behind, and surely doesn't send it there as Patrick Sipos is on course maybe for a podium for the other race clutch driver as Luke Smith disconnects. This is going to give an opportunity for Sipos. He can maybe try and get a few warnings removed if he can. Here comes Lenny Pepinta on the back streets. Duncan often tries to defend. They come down in towards Cops Corner. They've only got one sector to do it. Pepinta versus Hoffland versus Sipos for the win.
Yeah, it looks like Hoffland said, after you, sir, but that's going to allow Sipos to have an opportunity as well. Very tactical from Duncan Hoffland on the final part of the race here as Christophe Lataxier manages to get himself a penalty. Has Lenny Pepinta got a big enough gap to manage to get himself ahead, or is Duncan Hoffland going to go for the move round the outside at Stowe? Goes to McLaren driver. He's going to try and make it work the long way round. There's contact. Hoffland gets a penalty. That's going to drop him off the podium. It's going to be Fabrizio Donoso who takes the victory in this race. Pepinta in second place. Hoffland drops down to 7th place in the end, and from 19th on the grid, Pieter Stachelek on the soft tyres gets himself a podium. A dramatic end to that race, and it is Donoso on debut with what turned out to be a dominant victory.
Absolutely. So, what a race. What a final lap there. Donoso picking up the race wing on debut. Lenny Papinta just grabbing P2 there. That was so close with Duncan Hoffman. They just lost out due to a podium. But Piotr Stachelek take a bow from last on the grid to finish P3. That is a statement and a half. Maybe a future F1 esports driver if he does get picked up after the Challengers after the Challengers season. But what a fantastic drive there from Piotr Stachelek. He is my driver of the day. But what a drive from Fabrizio Donoso. Pole position and the race win. Not sure if he did get fastest lap. I will just check now. And the fastest lap did go to Ulas Zildrum in the end, but Piotr Stachelek taking that podium. What a race from him. But Fabrizio Donoso takes the 25 points and leads away. And what a race it was for Fabrizio Donoso, who takes the win here in Silverstone.
Yeah, a superb win. 25 points there going the way of TF10, and that was a superb performance then by Donoso. There's rumours in the chat that he may have crossed the pit line. We'll have to see what happens about that. There's some defending saying he was forced to do that. I think there could be a lot of stewards' inquiries towards the end of that race. Duncan Hoffman picking up a late penalty. It looked like Sipos earlier on picked one after getting forced off track, but it is Donoso who takes the victory there, ironically finishing ahead of someone who's using the Brendan Lee avatar, saying it was Brendan who beat him to the esports title in 2017. Another podium for Pinter, I think becoming the first man to get 2 podiums this season. And it is Piotr Stachelek who finishes in 3rd place. As we take a look then at the rest of the provisional results here from round 3 of the Global Championship, powered by GT Omega, Carter Lundy and Dylan Warren finishing in 4th and 5th place. Jene Dovzan is in 6th. Shazoo picking up their first points of the season, well deserved by the Slovenian driver. Ryan Jacobs in 7th, Hofland and Sipos 8th and 9th in the end after their penalties, arguably even more unlucky than them. Luke Smith finishing in 10th place. Could he have possibly challenged Donoso for that victory? Marcus Short just missing out on points after his spin. Izar is 12th, Badesco 13th, Coden N'Golo, Jean-Christophe Lataxiere, Ulas Zeldrin, Marcus Towler and Joost Noordijk the final finishers. And we saw Jona Martins and Jake Finch retire from the race. We'll be back very shortly to discuss what happened in that race and hopefully speak to our top 3. See you in a moment. Well, the Silverstone race certainly lived up to its billing then here at the Global Championship. A superb performance by Fabrizio Donoso to take his first victory on debut for TF10. A 2nd place and a 2nd podium in a row for Lenny Papinta. And it was Piotr Stachelek doing a fantastic performance on that soft tyres from the back of the grid to take 3rd position. We sort of knew that they'd wait a few laps, things would stay nice and calm, and then all hell would break loose on the final lap. And that certainly seemed to be the case. On numerous occasions, Duncan Hoffman came close to spinning the car there in the McLaren and picked up a 3-second penalty at Stowe.
Yeah, that can maybe get removed by the stewards, but we never know. But yeah, it's just the last lap battling that sometimes happens in league racing. Obviously, you want to battle for the most points as possible. You want to battle for wins. You want to battle for podiums. And obviously, Duncan Hoffman losing out that time. Once again, that probably will be looked at by the stewards. Once again, by Lenny Papinta. And obviously, that penalty may get removed by Duncan Hoffman once again. So we never know. Obviously, there are a few also rumours between Fabrizio Donoso obviously crossing that pit lane. I just looked at a few images there. And I think for a few TF10 drivers, it doesn't look good in their favour. Obviously, Fabrizio cutting the pit lane entry there, but we never know. It's a very, very interesting one. Obviously, Luke Smith with his disconnection as well on another day. That would have been the win as well. So unlucky for Luke Smith, obviously. with that disconnection, and obviously I think that might have been a power cut. I did try to invite him to the stream. He'd already been offline, so I think that may have been just unfortunate for Luke Smith. But on another day, he can definitely bounce back from this, and hopefully, if he's chosen next race at Azerbaijan, he can definitely be fighting for those wins. And obviously, for Fabrizio Donoso as well, will be fighting for those wins with him as well.
Yeah, I think certainly I could argue maybe the unluckiest driver in the field after that disconnection. Could have been again another podium for him and a race clutch, and obviously with Sipos dropping down the order because of the penalty. Not ideal. Shizou putting in a good performance. Yerne Dovzan getting his first points and Shizou's first points of the season, really making that alternate strategy work. It didn't look until we saw a disconnection for Luke Smith, which sort of broke up that pack a bit. Didn't look as though the alternate strategy was working out. Stachelek, Warren, and Dovzan, all of them were really struggling to make any moves, and we said that could happen if the train stays close together and everyone has DRS.
Yeah, absolutely. So obviously those DRS trains were definitely hindered a lot. Obviously, he had a 9-car battle for the lead at one point, almost throughout the race. So it was absolutely fantastic to watch there. But yeah, very, very good race nevertheless. But it's always going to be very, very tight one of those times. So it's going to be very, very interesting. I cannot get my eyes off of that one. That was just fantastic to see. And yeah, on another day, obviously Luke Smith would get that win. Obviously, Lenny Pepinter may be looking at back-to-back wins as well with a few incidences as well. But obviously, there's still a lot of incidences that can be reported and that can be replaced. So the standings at the moment will be definitely rejiggled after this one.
Yeah, we're just waiting to see if any of the drivers will join us for the interview. Lenny Pepinter was in the waiting room very briefly there, but unfortunately seems to have left. There's all sorts of debating going on, I think, at the moment between Race Clutch and TF10. When there's money involved in championships, you always get these stewards' decisions that are going to be marginal, and it will be an intriguing one to see later on. Drivers who had a bit tougher races, obviously we saw Jona Martins and Jake Finch retire. Joost Noordijk and Ulysses Ildrim getting caught up in some sort of incident on lap 1, which unfortunately we missed. And around this circuit, we mentioned it before qualifying, you're not going to be able to make a 2-stops work. They were relying on a safety car. The Taxia was relying on a safety car. It didn't come from either of them. Really, a race all three would want to forget.
Yeah, absolutely. So definitely one to forget for, Joost Noordijk. Ulysses Ildrim obviously having a very, very tough race. ET8 having a bit of a tough one there with Jake Finch. A lot of drivers just missing out there. But speaking of, Shizou, brilliant to see them with points to their names. Obviously, Yone Dovzan picking up those points finishes for Shizou today, which left them off the bottom of the standings, I do believe, with that could result from Dovzan. So that may be the driver that they probably use quite a bit now with getting a little bit off the mark there. So now Shizou finally can kickstart their season the way they want to, and hopefully they can try and keep going the way they are. And Shizou obviously finishing, I believe it was about P6, P7 today. They can definitely start to go on there, maybe progress a little bit higher going into Azerbaijan next week, which will definitely be a very, very tough race with the nature of the corners. Obviously, being a street circuit, it's definitely going to be tough for overtakes to happen, but when they do happen, it's usually absolutely magnificent.
Yeah, I was just about to say, if we thought we had some chaos tonight at Silverstone, just imagine what Azerbaijan is going to be like. A very different circuit indeed. What can we expect to see in Azerbaijan, apart from probably 3 or 4 wide down the straight and all manner of tricks going on with DRS trains?
We can definitely expect a lot of DRS trains, as you said. Obviously, these qualifying times may be just about select the race, so we never know. Hopefully, no one turns the brake magic on going in towards turn 1, but we never know. It's definitely going to be an interesting one. Obviously, street circuits always throw a little bit of a surprise out there, so we may see a few interesting moves down the inside, round the outside, a lot of stewards inquiries maybe. So hopefully they do keep it clean and keep it civilized. So we should be in with an absolutely fantastic race come next week.
Yeah, we should be indeed. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like we are going to get anyone to join us for the interviews, so we're going to bring the stream to an end there. Thank you so much for Josh for joining me once again in the commentary box. Thanks to all the drivers for putting on what was 26 laps of simply scintillating action here at Silverstone. And we will see all you viewers. Thanks for joining us in a week's time at Baku. We've had 3 different winners from the first 3 races. But once more, there is a bit of a cloud over the results here at TF10. Make sure to keep an eye out on the T Global Champs Twitter page to see if there will be any outcomes from that. and we will see you in a week's time for the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. Take care of yourselves, and goodbye.